Never before have we had greater face a complex, rapidly changing world. Think of it a moment.
It is a world in which supersonic speeds are commonplace. It is a world that has seen the coming of the atomic bomb. It has seen the rise of the total state, the dictator, and the mass man. It is a world of new sensations, new excitements, new distractions.
So much to be learned by so many in so little time.
And I suppose you're here with no agenda, as per usual?
On the contrary, I'm here for comics.
How's your comic book collection, Brody?
Oh, it's going good, but I've been...
Gene's book's been... Dude, I know we're both a little behind on Storm because I haven't gotten you your copy of issue 2 or 3 or whatever it was that I have for you. But that exact fear we were just talking about the X-Manhunt ruining like Gene's story, that's kind of what's happening in Storm's book, because we got the Storm entry today and it was like, what are we honestly doing here? But we will get into that. We will get into all of that fun stuff that comes in the X books as we get into our show, because, ladies and gentlemen, it is Thursday night. It is time for another foil variant with your two most handsome, intellectually honest comic book talking hosts, Andrew Rodriguez and myself, Spencer McCooley. How you doing tonight, Andrew? You're sounding a lot better at the very least, and you're not bedridden, so I think we can take our W's. Frozen? Oh, you are frozen. That's odd. Even though, here, let's see if I can refresh it on my end. That's so odd. And he's gone. Anyway, while Wolf is frozen, how are we doing, everybody? I hope everybody is having an amazing week so far. We are here to talk comic books and comic book related news. Surprisingly, we have a pretty small week this week. We only really have about 4 books that the both of us are reading. Oh, and he's gone, but he's refreshing. Don't worry, Andrew will be back. But yeah, we've only got about 4 books this week that we really read. So we'll be diving into that. We will be diving into and there we go, unfrozen. We are A-okay now. Hey, I see you, Subhuman, all right? We are very highly organized. I don't know. That wasn't our fault. That one wasn't our fault. That was, I don't even know. Maybe it was, even on VDO, it was fine too. So, got to be something on OBS's end. I have no idea what that was about. But, yeah, guys, sort of a smaller week. We will be talking about, obviously, Uncanny X-Men. That is the biggest one I think we have. We have the conclusion to Batman Full Moon, which wasn't that hot. And we have Ultimates this week, which was, I would say, better, but I'm still very unimpressed with this book. I feel like it's a lot of its momentum. Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, how are you muted?
I don't know. Muted when I'm back in here? Hold on.
No, you're good now, and now...
Yeah.
That's super... Why is...
Let's see here. Okay, now I'm good. Now I'm good, yeah.
Okay.
Super... I'm kind of echoey, though.
Yeah, no, I think I fixed the echo. I don't know what was up with that.
All right.
You should be okay.
Let's see. Give it a second. It's always got to be something, right?
It's always got to be something. Even though we do try our best, we've gotten a lot better since we started this stream, right, guys? I checked my microphone before we hopped on. Andrew and I got our cameras and our wine glasses and everything already. We were good to go. And of course, it's something with the internet. The internet just doesn't want us to be here.
It's got to be something every single time.
It's Tom King, the CIA agent, using his connections to shut us down because he knows that we will tell you don't watch Lanterns, or like It's such a disappointment.
We'll just tell you everything that he does is horrible, and you should avoid it.
If you see his name on anything, run the complete opposite direction.
Yeah, just run as far away and as fast as you possibly can.
And like Lot, do not look back. Being turned into a pillar of salt would be preferable to like turning back and reading a page. Right, exactly. Mm-hmm. But yeah, we'll have Ultimates, and then that truly is all we've got tonight. It should be a tighter show, but it will be, as always, a hearty show, a fun show, an intellectually honest show. Before we get into all of that, of course, we can say, and we should say, hello to the chat, starting with Zero Dozer saying, if this was a Twitch channel, I'd set up a prediction on which one would get his audio bugged, Mav or Wolf. I saw that before we went live, and I was like, ha, we're going to get you this time. I've got it. And lo and behold, out of our control. But what's going on, Zero? Happy to have you. Chuck is here, says, hurry up so I can fall asleep. Well, don't worry, Chuck. We're going to try to keep within our what do you call it? Our aim time of 2.5 hours. That's normally where we like to keep it in the sweet spot. So I know last week we went really, really long, and we've been trying to get back in the groove, but we'll keep it tight this week. Again, the 4 books are really going to help us, and when we go forward into weeks where we have a lot, we'll just tune it up. But yes, go lay down, let us lull you off to sweet dreams, Chuck. Punk, what is going on? How are you doing, my friend? He just said he just finished watching the 9th episode of Daredevil's 2nd season on Disney Plus. I'm rewatching the Daredevil Netflix before I watched Born Again. Andrew, have you watched Born Again yet?
No, I never saw more than the first 3 episodes of the original one.
What? Really?
Yeah, I know. I've heard it. I've heard it's incredible. It's my buddy Mike's favorite like superhero live action thing ever. I've just never gotten around to it.
That's crazy. It is like one of the better things. I don't know. That's so wild to me that you haven't. It happens to all of us. There are a lot of things like I haven't watched or whatever, but that would have been one I thought you would have tagged on to. But I actually haven't gotten around to watching it either. I've heard, and from what I've seen, is that I was actually really surprised. I saw a lot of reviews coming out from like the mainstream places being like, this isn't it. It's missing the mark. It's not quite Daredevil. And I was like, really? You guys don't?
I've heard mixed things. I've heard some people say that they're like, I'm seeing what they're doing so far, and I'm on board at least for now. I've had some people that I know say they're loving it. I've heard other people, I should specify, in this sphere say it's just absolute trash. I find that hard to believe, but not impossible to believe. It's just, it's all down to the source.
I've heard all of those same things. The biggest complaint I've heard is that unlike the Netflix series, they did the Marvel thing and all of the action is like shredded and cut to hell like it was fighting Wolverine. So that's kind of disappointing.
Yeah, it was one of the highlights about the Netflix one, which was like the blocking and the choreography was done really, really well.
And so like between that and it's been a big complaint for years that we can't see what's going on in Marvel movies and that they cut too much. So it's very surprising to me that they doubled down on it for this, because this show seemed like they were really trying to sort of edge away from pure MCU, I guess.
Yeah.
I do hope it turns out good. Again, I've seen some pretty cool Bullseye moments. Frank's still got to show up. I'm still excited to see, what's his name? What the hell is that actor? John Bernthal. I'm excited to see him back as Frank, because I think he's a really good Frank. But yeah, I hope you're enjoying Punk, because I know that those first 3 seasons, well, at least the first 2 of Daredevil are incredible. Third gets a little but still, I personally think it delivers once it gets to the end.
I've heard third season does have some more ups and downs than the first 2.
It definitely does, but I think it ends really strongly, like with that last fight against Kingpin and Matt and their basic. I know you haven't watched it, but the last thing we ever saw before Born Again was Matt fighting Bullseye and Kingpin inside of the Kingpin's penthouse, and it's basically like Matt in his black like original outfit, like slugging and like doing a big old beatdown on Kingpin, and Bullseye's still like there trying to like tag him, and Matt just keeps like get the hell out of my face, like I'm not dealing with you right now. So I love that Matt when Matt goes like full serious, and yeah, great show. I hope you enjoy, Punk. We have Jonas. What is going on? Fair warning, the last comic I read was Adam Strange. Well, I hope it was not the Adam Strange series from Tom King, because that thing was a disaster.
Yikes.
I have never, everybody, like, I always try to like bring this up whenever I write about him or talk about him. But remember, like, Tom King's a CIA agent, so you get a lot of books that are like Iraq War apologia. And it's really weird because none of us really liked that war. None of us wanted to be there. Like, we've all collectively as a nation been like, that was a big misstep on our end. But he keeps going out there like, yeah, that was awesome. And so it just makes it like completely detached. It's odd. But welcome, Jonas. We are glad to have you. Hopefully we'll provide you with a better entertaining time than anything Tom King related. Zero says...
Well, that's a low bar. But,
I mean, it's a low bar, but hey, at least it's a promise we can deliver on. Zero says...
Make goals you can achieve.
Yeah, exactly. We're not going to shoot for the sun, right? We don't want to crash. We're going to know our lane. No. Zero says, so we about to discuss Kamala being shoehorned into every single X-Men arc, which makes her even more hated. I don't. There's not really a lot to talk about here yet. We've only gotten the previews for the whatever this event is supposed to be. It is it doesn't have a name, but it's basically, if you guys haven't seen, they're about to do an event this summer that is going to run through a handful of specials for the X-Men that sees Kamala Khan thrown back in time and introduced into the canon, into the events, or into big events throughout X-Men history, like the first mission to Krakoa for the Uncanny X-Men, the death of Jean Grey, House of M, all that fun stuff. Right now, we don't know enough to honestly give you guys any sort of real read. I think I can speak for both of us that obviously we're just annoyed with Kamala in general, especially whenever they try to push her. On my end, I'm very much not a fan of her mutant turn. I think that was the dumbest, like, we want attention, we need to be relevant. Yeah. Oh my God, how do we do this? We have and so she's annoying, but we have seen events in the past, like literal events in the past, like comic book events where guys have traveled back in time, seen all these old events. For example, we just saw in Venom when Old Man Dylan went back in time to like the day the Molten Man attacked, and he found himself like, oh, I helped Spidey, but I can't like interfere. So if they do something like that, I think this could end up just being honestly like just like a fun tribute to the X-Men that just happens to focus on Kamala. It doesn't mean I'm going to want to read it, but I think that might be what it turns out to be. If they do the thing where all of a sudden she is like integral to one piece of canon, that's what I think will really sink it all, right? Like if she's the one who discovers Wolverine, or if she's the one who, reaches out to Storm, or is the one that protects Wanda from Pietro in House of M, right, or any of that stuff, or tells Jean, like, you have to give yourself up. You blew up a planet. If she's anything like that, it's going to be a disaster. But if she's just sort of there, I can get past it. I really just hope that going forward, we don't start seeing like, Professor, here's a picture of the first mission we went on, and it's the 05.
And all of a sudden you see
Kamala.
her in there.
Yeah,
because she's
Don't do that.
The thing is, and I'm like you. I'm reading comics every single week, quite a few of them, except for weeks where there's like almost nothing out, like this week.
But
I'm far from black-pilled about comic books, whether we're talking about the mainstream stuff or whether we're talking about the indie sphere, which is filled with fantastic stuff. However,
bias.
I feel like Kamala is that character that if they're going to actually shoehorn a character into being integral, they're going to do it with her.
Yeah.
I don't see, like, take a look at the Avengers game, for example, right? The one from Crystal Dynamics. You could have told that same story, but swap out Kamala, swap out Stretchy Hands McGee for Peter.
Exact same story.
Right.
Or even
just
even
the
better.
Exact same story, but a story that makes more sense and that fans would be all about right away.
Did you ever play it, or did you ever learn about like?
Yeah,
you did. Okay.
Yeah.
Because I was going to bring up the one plot point that sort of always sticks out to me about how much they will carry, like Marvel will carry water for Kamala is at a certain. So for those of you who don't know, the Avengers game from Crystal Dynamics, it basically is built on the setup of there's a big old Avengers Day like celebration. It's all great. It gets attacked by AIM. People blame the Avengers disband. And in like a year later or whatever, Kamala Khan happens to be on like the R Resistance subreddit. Like literally, it's not Reddit, but it's like legally distinct Reddit.
Yeah,
and
legally distinct.
Yeah,
Reddit. We have Reddit at home.
It's Blewit, right?
Yeah.
So she's on Blewit and she finds like there's like a link that gets uploaded and it says like, if you can decrypt this, like come find me or whatever, and nobody knows what it is. And she happens to like click it and get it right away, and it leads her to Tony. And I'm like, if like if you're like in hiding and you're an Avenger, you're not putting out a message on like a public Reddit forum. Second, you're telling me Kamala, the 13, 14-year-old girl is like this master hacker who got it before the people who spend time on Reddit. Like I don't like them a lot, but they are techies. Like they would know what they're doing. So that part, you're completely right. They will always force Kamala into anything. I mean,
and the thing is, her characterization in that game isn't even like particularly offensive. Like her character's just kind of fine. It's like the least offensive her character's ever been, but the story still, I don't believe you.
Well, that's the problem.
When you have other better options, I don't believe you when you're choosing Kamala to be the vehicle for this story. Sorry, I don't. Well, all that is to say, I think that and I'm willing to eat my words if I end up being wrong, but I feel like the likelihood of them going through with actually shoehorning her into being integral to these stories, these iconic stories, is pretty high. Not guaranteed, but pretty high.
And I agree with you. I want to, keep away like the white pill going and be like, maybe, just maybe. But if I had to bet money right now, I would say she's definitely going to be made integral to something. I don't think she's going to be, it's like I said a couple seconds ago, and I talked to you a little bit about this. I don't think she'll be like, it won't be the Dark Kamala saga all of a sudden, right? No. Like she won't replace, but it will be like, Jean, you got to think about like everybody else. And that will be the thing that leads Jean to like turn the cannon on her, or like she'll be a setup for a big moment or something like that. And then she'll be in canon forever. So yeah, the two of us probably won't be reading it. Again, we have so much to check out. Obviously, if something
I literally
comes through,
just emailed my LCS and finally dropped a bunch of books.
You did it. I was gonna message you after the show and be like, all right, now that we're here.
I had a couple as well, but I dropped a bunch. So
no, there was a lot that we had to drop. Otherwise, you would have just been reading slop. We would have been reading Exceptional for 4 more years. We would have been reading Flash for 4 more years. And
those are gone. Called, done, gone.
You called JSA like a long time ago, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I called that after I removed it from my pull list after issue 2, and I stopped buying it after issue 3 because I was just like, this is boring. This sucks.
It's really bad.
I don't care about like all the characters that you're putting all the focus on right now, and you're mischaracterizing the characters that I do.
That I care about. It didn't get better, but when we get through saying hi, I want to do a quick run just to show you like where we're at, because I flipped through this issue and I was gobsmacked. So we'll get to that in just a second. Let's see. Subhuman says, any longer and you would have been Flashcast late. We were only like 3 minutes late. That we were better about it this week. We were very close this week.
Sure.
Don't just because we had to go get like our respective drinks before the show started, you can give us some leeway. But how are you doing, Subhuman? Always a pleasure to hang out with you. Sassy is here as well, pointing out that you were muted a second ago, then you were back now, but always a pleasure to have you, Sassy. We are glad you are here. All of our audio is ironed out. Matt is here as well. What is going on? Always awesome to see him. Swift -1. Subhuman says, Tom King. I'm Tom King, and I'm here to write your favorite characters. Massive red flag.
I'm Tom King, and I'm here to character assassinate you.
Yeah, it's not even write your favorite characters, Subhuman. It is, I'm here to crap all over everything you loved about this character. He even does it
I'm
like
Tom King. I think I'm 21st century Alan Moore. I'm
really
here to crap all
does.
over your characters.
I think we might have mentioned it like in passing last week because we had so much to talk about. But when James Gunn held that big DC Studios event like 2 weeks ago, and he was talking to fans afterwards, like doing a Q&A, and they asked him, "Oh, is the Lantern show going to be based on any comic book series?" And James Gunn went, "Nope, it is Tom King doing what Tom King does. He is doing a version of the Lanterns like he did with Woman of Tomorrow, like he did with Strange Adventures, like he did with Mr. Miracle." And that's the problem, right? Is just like Andrew said, he thinks he's Alan Moore. So instead of going, "I'll play with the characters how they're supposed to be played with," he goes, "I've got this, guys. Don't worry. It's going to be so cool. Watch what I do." And he just trashes them.
Insert low effort character assassinating deconstructionism here.
The deconstructionism, the Batcat wedding is so stupid. I had to read that issue like a couple weeks ago, and she literally leaves him because I was shit talking Tom King, and I was getting a bunch of different examples
for that
about
article you were doing. Yeah.
Anytime I have to write about Tom King, guys, I know I could make it like a super easy article. It's just like, he's here, it's bad, bye. But in my heart, I'm like, I can't let it go. Like, I need to let anybody who maybe like comes across the article on Google, they need to know what they're like dealing with. I can't subject anybody to that. So yes, Tom King, the reddest of red flags. The second we see him on anything, it doesn't come into our homes. Even if it has a beautiful variant cover, just absolutely never happening.
Even if it's a beautiful art term cover, can't do it.
Just can't do it. Just cannot do it. Punk asks, "Oh, Andrew, you're okay."
I'm still here.
Oh, okay. He just turned his camera down. Cool. Yes, it works. We rarely do this, but I'm glad that that's working. The whole persona icon. Punk says, "The Emma Frost Frosty variant of Power Hour number 3 that you posted on Discord is very cool." Did you see that, Andrew?
I did.
It is a beautiful cover. I will bring it up.
I need it.
I don't even know what Power Hour is. Is that
I've got no idea.
Genuinely, this happens a lot in comic book guys. Like shops or whatever will have their own unique cover like order, and sometimes they'll get like artists to do it, or they'll do like photos, and that is what is happening with this one by Shikari. An amazing Emma Frost Power Hour cover. There's nothing to say past this, guys, except it's incredible. There's a reason I shared it with Andrew, and it's Emma.
Emma's my ex-girl.
Right there. We can buy it at a bunch of different places, but yes, it is a very, very beautiful cover, Punk. Punk says, "I like the actress who played Elektra on Daredevil. I hope she returns." I liked her too. I really did. I don't remember her name, but she's like the perfect, like super Greek Elektra. I really liked her. Yes, Zero, that is a fact. Remember not to restate your questions because I do go all the way back to the beginning of the chat. I am seeing you guys at all times. Sometimes we get to your comments. Sometimes the flow of the conversation gets away from us, but we do see you. We do love y'all. We see everything, and we appreciate you having here. What? Wait a sec. Okay. Oh, okay. I see what you're saying. So Subhuman says, "I'm surprised Marvel hasn't shoehorned Miles into Spider-Man's mythos." And I was like, but they have.
That's exactly
that's all
what
they
they
do. But I think what Subhuman is saying is he's surprised they haven't like retconned Miles into like high school with Peter or something like that. And it's only a matter of time. It genuinely truly is. There was a point where they almost did it. I don't know if you'll remember, Subhuman, but back in the old Ultimate Universe, they did this mini-series called Spider-Men. And it was the first crossover between the Ultimate Universe and the 616. And it involved Peter, like our Peter Parker, getting sucked into the Ultimate Universe, meeting Miles, going on an adventure, coming home. At the end of the series, he comes home and he's like, "There's versions of us in every universe," and he types in Miles Morales onto his computer, and he goes, "Whoa," and that's the last we see of it. That was definitely intended to be like, he's been in my life all along of some kind, but at the last second, Bendis turned, like whether his own idea or Marvel or just God above decided to help us out, he pivoted at the last second to the Miles Morales in 616 is like a Kingpin goon who is a transplant from the 1610 who stole all of the Ultimate's tech. And so his name is now like Ultimate. It's really, really stupid, but at least it's not like, yeah, I went to high school with Miles Morales. like that's all we can really be thankful for at this point.
That would have been extra dumb.
Like
when it was already dumb.
You've seen, I think we talked about it, but you've seen all the stuff coming out about like your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, right, Andrew? The cartoon. That's what they're doing. They're like, here's Peter, but he gets nothing to himself. All of his friends get like everything to do. Here's Gwen. I'm surprised like Miles isn't there yet. We can't have Spider-Man anymore. We're not allowed to have Peter. Peter died with like Spider-Man or like Amazing Spider-Man 2, the movie.
That's sad.
Isn't it?
Me sad. It makes me super sad. It
should not be this hard to write Spider-Man. And yet, here we... Spectacular Spider-Man is literally a book about Miles and Peter hosting therapy sessions at a coffee shop. What are we literally doing here?
I'm so glad I'm no longer getting that book.
Oh, dude, I can't even... even when I go like, I get my books and then I go get my books from my Pakistani guy. And the Pakistani guy goes, hey, Spectacular's out. And I just go... I don't even care. Like, I don't even want to like make fun of it. It's just not anything. But yes, Spider-Man is, sadly, Marvel hates Spider-Man. We all know this. But let's see. Yeah, Punk says he's halfway through Saladin Ahmed's, Daredevil run. I know we talked about that either here or on my stream a couple weeks ago. I'm glad you're liking it. I definitely need to catch up with all of that stuff. I'm only caught up with Chip Zdarsky. Which, good run, and nothing against Saladin. It's a sort of, like we said, Saladin's run is sort of a little bit retready of where we've been. Not that it's bad. I just need a little break from having just read that with Chip.
Yeah.
But with that all aside, Andrew, how about we get into some comic books? That's right. Do you want to start with actual books, or do you want me to do my quick JSA run through? Do you want to laugh, or do you want to get into some actual discussion?
We can take 5 to go through the JSA run through, and then we'll hit Full Moon's wrap up, which was underwhelming.
So underwhelming. So unfortunate. Okay. As you guys know, like we've mentioned earlier, and we have previously covered, JSA got a all-in series with the relaunch earlier this year, written by Jeff Lemire. If you guys recall, we picked up this book because, hey, Jeff Lemire, he's a pretty good writer, and hey, JSA, pretty fun team. And even better, Jesse's back, and we both love our Jesse Quick. So we were, wasn't the most excited book. Like we weren't hyper excited for it, but we were like, well, check it out. Why not? Might be cool. But at the end of the day, unfortunately, where am I? There we go. At the end of the day, if you guys remember, this book not only super mischaracterized Jesse, but it also sort of wasn't going anywhere. It was very, very slow. And, we are literally nothing has happened, Andrew. So first, just like a quick rundown of what happens in this issue. We are still at the point of like Hawkman and everybody fighting the demons outside of the Tower Gate, right? Like this is still happening after 3 issues. Hawkgirl just shows up, and that was the last issue you read, was when she's like, I gotta go save him. So she just got here like 2 issues later, and then we just go back to Dr. Midnight and Obsidian escape from the Injustice Society, and we get like a prep talk between Sandman and Jade, and then we just get more like meetings between the Injustice Society, and then we get this big showdown of, oh look, they're gonna finally breach the tower. They're finally breaching the tower after 5 issues, dude. Like that was the thing they set up, and I'm just like, this pacing is abominable. It's not only abominable, but like it doesn't do anything. And then what I really wanted to show you, like why I really wanted to laugh at this with you is
I didn't realize I was muted. I was trying to say, how do you have pacing this bad when you have both Jay Garrick and Jesse Quick on your team?
They don't do anything. Like I told you this earlier, or I thought I told you this earlier, but
it feels
Jesse
like they
hasn't
shoved both of them to the side in the issues that I had read.
I think they had to, because if you let them be in the story, Jeff Lemire wrote it in a way that like they would wipe it very easily. like insanely easily if you
people that don't know how to ride speedsters.
Exactly, or how to give them proper limitations or proper challenges. So literally, I wanted to bring up the pacing because we are not moving anywhere. Like, we are just next month, Tower Siege, right? Like 6 issues it took to get to that point.
So it took to the freaking finale issue to the first arc.
Yes.
In order to get to this point. Like,
which should have been like 2 or 3. 3 at the latest.
You could have started that at 3, maybe 4, but like have your issue 6 be the big finale, like the big, knockdown, drag out, fight, showdown. And then the last couple of pages are your wrap up, your epilogue, right? That nicely puts a bow on this first arc and teases what comes next. That's all you got to do. Nope.
No. Like
not what we got.
It feels like we are getting a television episode where it's being stretched out for 40 minutes or whatever, and then we'll get the real important stuff at the very end.
Namek will explode in 5 minutes.
That's literally
17 episodes later.
That's kind of where we're at, because they were like, "Oh no, the demons are right outside the tower. We're gonna die." And now we've just gotten to the tower falls tonight. So the pacing is abominable. And I also wanted to point this out to you, because this is where I got gobsmacked. So I was reading this book, and I got to that last page that we were just looking at with the big old demon, and then with the JSA.
That splash is cool enough,
it is cool enough.
And that 2-page one is pretty cool as well, though I feel like more could have been done there in the foreground. But hey, overall, that's a cool 2-page splash.
Throw one of those dragons or something like in the foreground, have its like mouth roaring or something, right? It's funny you point this out, because this is kind of the problem. I was reading this book and I got to this page and I went, what? Not only was the pacing weird, but I went, that can't be the end of the issue. And I looked at the page count. I went, this is a standard issue? What? Like, why was it so fast? And I went back, and there's a reason I stayed on the double zoom, because like every other page in this book, 1, 2, 3 double page spreads in one issue, with most of them not really. We didn't need this to be a spread. There are 2 bubbles.
That is not a 2. Like, if you
this
are
is the
going
bottom
to,
of a page. These are the bottom 2 panels on a page.
Like, here's the thing. You want to do a 2-page splash where you have barely any, if any at all, dialogue. Cool. Make it worth your reader's while. Yes. I turned the page and I'm like, you wasted a double page spread on this? Because here's the thing. Like, spreads, single page splashes, and especially double page splashes, you pick your spots with those. Those should be your mind-blowing moments or a big reveal. You can use a single page splash for a massive, like, major character introduction, right? You're introducing an important character.
Right here. Like
we're
about to fight. Yeah.
An ending epic, but you don't necessarily need a 2-page for it. You can do that. A 2-page splash should be a massive action shot, or like a big, like, end game level, like, team up moment, right? That just gets your reader hyped. You don't do what they did here at all, ever. And here's the thing as well. This is another thing. You don't want to overload your reader with splashes, whether it's single page or double page splashes. Very few writers and artist teams can pull that off. And when they do, it's typically in a larger book. Good example.
Thank you. Yes.
Alpha Core #1 for the RIPPAVERSE. Maybe
this is boo, self-promotion, boo. I knew it was going here, boo.
No, hey, I didn't write it, but written by Chuck Dixon, drawn by Joe Bennett. So they have multiple big set piece double page spreads. That's also like an 80-something or 90-something page book, right?
Right.
Not a 24-page book with 3 pages of ads, and you still put 3 double page spreads.
Like you and I talk about it all the time.
You're trying to just pad out your pages because you don't have any story.
You have no story. This is what we talk about all the time too, right? Like, I luckily got this from my Pakistani guy, but if I had paid the $4 or $5 for this, I would genuinely probably be pissed. I'd be like, this was not worth my price of admission for this particular issue. Let's see, can I find it really
good to know I made the right choice in dropping this.
Oh no, if
it makes me sad that it was the right choice, but I'm glad I made the choice.
Yeah, at least you did. I just wanted to bring this up real quick because we're done with JSA. I just wanted to point out the abhorrent pacing and the awful like double page waste of our times. Just because we were on the topic, this issue. Can I get to the double pager? Oh, never mind. So this issue of this was like the last Ultimate Spider-Man issue before they kind of like shut down the universe, and this is where they. This is a standard sized issue, but this is where they really, really use it effectively. Like every other page we get is or not every other page, but we get to this point here. You never read Ultimate Spider-Man. That's right. So
I only read the first couple of arcs.
Yeah, I forgot
that. And I was like, this is like, I can see why a younger audience would like really like this. If this is their introduction to Spider-Man, I totally get it. For me, like I've already read this. You know, this isn't actually breaking. This isn't breaking new ground, and it's also doing things that I don't like as much as the original. So I'm just going to stick with the thing,
which is fine. Yeah, but I just always forget that when I bring up this like history, you don't even like you have no context. But basically,
I have like certain hallmark knowledge of events and things like that, but beyond that, like I didn't sit there and read them all.
Right. So what's happening here is this is the actual funeral for Peter Parker, right? Like he is dead. Everybody has sort of moved on for the next few months. Now that everything has calmed down, they're all getting together for a wake. So you see like there's Kitty, there's Gwen, there's MJ, there's Bobby, there's all the, supporting cast from Ultimate Spider-Man. So what happens here is that they go around the room and everybody sort of says like, what did you think was going to happen with Peter? Like, what did you see for him? So we get Bendis talk on the side of them talking like, I would have seen him join the Ultimates and lead it. Or I would have seen him lead his own squad of spider people and save New York. Or I would have seen him, dedicate himself to the street level. And
is that Greg Land art?
This is not Land. This is definitely not Land. This is
it's hard to tell when it's so far back for me. Like I don't have it blown up.
That is. Let me see who's talking.
Okay, so now I blew it up on my other monitor. Yeah, that's not Land.
It is.
I like the art.
That's Mark Brooks. Are you fucking Brooks? Joking?
Are you crapping with
me
right now?
Are you fucking kidding me?
Brooks did interior. Okay, so it looks like there are a few interior artists there.
There are.
Wow. That spread right there, though.
Is all him.
That's a cool double page spread. And the reason I was wondering is because when it's far back, like how it is on my monitor where I have
can
the
definitely
video.
See it. Yeah.
Like Gwen especially, the pose and the face from super far back.
Yeah, I can see
makes
that.
me think Greg Land. But then I was
getting it
from
Daredevil's
monitor
face.
on YouTube.
I was getting it from Daredevil's face. Yeah.
Oh, that's fair too. But when I blew it up on my other monitor on YouTube, rather than it's stacked and small over on VDO.
Right.
I'm like, oh wait, no, that's not a Greg
definitely
Land
not
face.
him.
that looks too like actual human.
But it's still like this is Mark. We talk about him all the time, where he's technically
he's
good,
kind of hit and miss.
But his composition is normally very terrible. But he's, to his credit. Like we've talked about this. He's getting better.
He's great with pinups.
He's
phenomenal.
Once you try to ask him to do more than one
layouts
or layouts, it kind of falls
apart. To do layouts or a splash or whatever. Yeah, then it's like, oh wow, we're losing a bit here. But yeah, that's to his credit. Hey, credit where credit's due.
Exactly.
That he's kind of a scumbag, but that's a good double page spread.
All of his crap, because we all know how he's treated, CG and RIPPAVERSE and all that sort of fun stuff. So he kind of sucks. But yeah, like Andrew said, credit where credit is due.
That's a cool spread.
On the topic of Mark Brooks, I thought this was. I wrote this in your Discord, so you might know where I'm going with this. But this is like a case of too little, too late. But I still have to give Marvel credit. They finally tapped a comic book artist to do a promotional piece for an MCU movie, and I don't know why it took this long. But Mark Brooks did a Thunderbolts piece for Empire magazine. And
I saw that.
Yeah, so I'm cool for him, good for Marvel, but we are 30 years into this. We really should have been doing that day one. Iron Man 1 should have had a Ditko piece or something, or it wasn't even Ditko,
dude,
but yeah.
The Raimi Spider-Man films had Alex Ross.
Well, and they even incorporated it into the movies.
Yeah.
Remember, like that's what he's designing. Like when he draws in his notebook.
Yeah, like why didn't they just keep doing that?
Marvel, we know, and we won't go down this road too much, but we know that Marvel has a really bad, or they treat their creators really terribly. Like we all saw the stuff with Rob Liefeld the other week, where he was like, they straight up didn't invite me to the Deadpool and Wolverine premiere. They didn't put my name on the after party
Which
list.
is disrespectful. Like
he's
that's
the guys who, like you don't have it without him.
He's a co-creator, but
you still don't have it without him.
Yeah, you don't. You don't have Deadpool without him.
You like what was it? Deadpool and Wolverine made like $1 billion. Give him 100,000. Whatever. Like what is that? That's chump change. You just made $1 billion. It's the least you could do. The one that always makes me really angry, or the two, is Bill Mantlo, the artist who drew Rocket Raccoon way back in the day and created him. He got in a car accident a couple years back, way before right before the premiere of Guardians 1, and they tried to ask Marvel, like, hey, you guys just blew up with this. Is there anything you guys can do for us? And they went, no, you don't. Like, you didn't sign the contract that way. Luckily,
Marvel,
the pressure changed it, but
Marvel historically is super bad with how they treat their creatives when it comes to things like royalties and whatnot. Yeah. DC is actually way better.
Even with the
Marvel,
Bill Finger, like Bob Kane
thing. Freaking right. Yeah. You look at, there are certainly examples that are awful. You look at, Bill Finger, Bob Kane, you look at Superman, right? But in almost every other instance since then, it's been way better. But over at Marvel, you look at like Jim Starlin gets the shaft, right? They based the entire first 3 phases of the MCU off of Thanos,
off of that,
and building up to him,
nothing.
Right? He got nothing. He got nil, right?
They based the entire Into the Spider-Verse off of 2099, and Peter David's not getting jack. Like Peter David has GoFundMe's up like every other month because he's got medical bills for him and his wife, and nobody's paying him. And
Marvel doesn't give a crap.
Marvel does not care. Like. And when they try to care,
that's irrespective of Disney too. That's just Marvel already.
This is just Marvel history.
Yeah, that's just unfortunately how Marvel operates. They don't care.
They don't care, and then when they try to like show you they pretend they care, it kind of backfires. Like I forget who it was, but the editor, you'll remember this, Andrew, because it's like actual comic history. But right when like Deadpool and Wolverine was like either about to come out or just came out, Marvel awarded like official co-creator status for Deadpool to like one of the editors on the book. And they were trying to tout it like, see, Marvel respects creators, but it's like editors, you don't credit it. Like they're not a creator. They maybe say like, oh, change, his colors might need to change. But
as somebody, so I can speak from a place
I know, and that's why I brought it up, baby.
So before we get into the first book, because
we are.
Editors are not writers.
No.
Okay, they are not the creators. Editor's job is to make sure that everything that the artist and the writer is doing aligns with the continuity and quality for the company.
Yeah.
But they're not the writer. Like, it is not their job to this is not a comic book editor is not the same as you being a prose, like long form novel writer, and you taking that to a professional editor, and that person, if they're doing their job, is going to tell you, hey, like this section right here or whatever probably needs to be rewritten and taking into account certain things.
Or move this, or
they're not going to do it themselves, but they're going to inform you why and what and how. That being said, comic book editors are not the same thing. A comic book editor, if they're doing their job, is making sure you are good when it comes to spelling, grammar, punctuation, lore accuracy, and accuracy for the art in terms of like, hey, all of a sudden in this panel, the character is wearing a purple shirt when in the panel before, which is literally in the same scene, they're wearing a green shirt, right?
Or like this happens with Spider-Man a lot. Like, for example, we can see here, like Peter's got a different looking suit on. Like I'm zooming in. It's slightly different. If this was an actual book, I guarantee no matter what artist you put on it, they're probably going to do one panel where he's in his normal suit. And that's what the editor catches. Goes, oh, hey, check it out. This splash page, he's in his normal suit. Can you like fix that up? You go, oh, crap.
Yeah.
Yes, let me do that. He doesn't go in and go, I'm going to redraw it. And also I'm going to, write in an extra scene about him getting the suit back or whatever.
Or I'm going to alter the dialogue. Like if what you can do is you can send a suggestion to the writer and be like, hey, I feel like this right here or something along these lines might be more in character.
Yep.
That's it. You are not the writer. That is not your job. But all of that is to say, crediting an editor as a creator instead of crediting Rob Liefeld.
Right.
Who is one of the two most important people when it comes to the creation of Deadpool, is retarded. Like, that is disrespectful and retarded. But anyway.
It is up to us as fans to make sure Rob Liefeld gets his due. Go out and pre-order Youngblood Deluxe #1, headed for shops later this year. I can't.
I'll get right on that.
The launch of the not cinematic universe, but like the Youngblood franchise, I guess, is what they're doing now, right? Like video games and TV shows and toys,
multimedia,
yeah, multimedia. That's exactly the word I was looking for.
It didn't pop off in the 90s. Maybe it'll pop off now. Who knows?
Hey, maybe this is the exact time we need. Maybe we need just really stupid superheroes instead of anything that tries to say anything, because Marvel screwed it all up. But to close out this, the reason I brought this up was this is how you use multiple splash pages, like double pagers. Well, you do big grand pieces, and then you also, it's thematic, right? Kind of like what Andrew was saying. We're at the final issue of Ultimate Spider-Man, which was this big defining book for Marvel, for the Ultimate Universe, for all of this stuff. It like gave us Miles, it gave us a bunch of different, like, it was huge. So they're sending it off with this big double like page tribute to all of this stuff. This works. If this was issue 8 and I knew that there were a bunch more stories coming along, I would be very weirded out, because no place for it. But yeah, that I just wanted to bring it up because of that. And and then they went, oh, by the way, Peter Parker is actually alive, and then they never followed up on that. No, that is one of the problems, Subhuman. Subhuman says, in response to what you were saying, Andrew, tell that all to Nick Lowe. That's one of the things. It's like how do I put this? It definitely feels like Nick Lowe is an example of what Andrew's talking about not doing, right? Like Nick Lowe goes, I want you to do this. You have to do this. We're doing this, which is like, normally an editor might go like, hey, we're gearing up for House of M. We got to do this specific thing, right? Like we got to introduce Wanda so that we can have a link to House of M. And you might go, okay, cool. That makes sense. But he's not going to go, hey, rewrite your entire story and put all this in and not have any input. Again, I'm just repeating what Andrew says, but Nick Lowe is a problem. Everything Spider-Man currently is a problem. Thankfully, we don't have any of those books this week. Thank goodness. Well, there was this, and I'm not going to talk about it. I just want us all to laugh at it real quick. This definitely came out, and I need Marvel to just stop. Like, Marvel just needs to stop doing...
I saw that on the shelf under the new releases, and I kept walking.
It's so...
I was like, nah, I'm good.
I've seen this on our, like, on Tifa for weeks and stuff, and I was just like, I know this is going to be stupid. I picked it up. It's even stupider than you think. They literally go... The premise for this is, it is the heart now. The heart of the Great Web is now a sentient thing, and it's seeking its own champions because it's going to have a fight with the heart of the Venom Web. So it goes. This issue goes through all of these Spider-Men we see here, and it's like, is this the one I want? Is this the hero? Nope. Guess who they pick? The Miles that's on the cover. Can you guys believe that? Can you believe that? No way. And you know what that Miles is? He's Spider Prowler. That's the difference. He's just Spider-Man with Prowler suit. It is a very, very, very dumb book. Except I did remember there is one story I think you would like in here. Well, this was cute. So there's a story about when Spider-Man got his Hulk powers way back in the day. And 1 second. So there's a short story in here, Spider-Hulk. It ends with, like, instead of Peter getting rid of the Spider-Hulk powers, he keeps them. And the last page is Peter like, I gotta leave New York, and he's hitchhiking, and he sees Bill Bixby from the the Hulk TV show doing the same hitchhiking that he would in the intro. And I was like, oh, hey, that's fun. That's a neat little reference that I like. But I know Andrew is he's currently stepped away, but I know he can probably still hear me. There is this kind of, even though I really hate this guy's design, the guy on the very front here, this vampire Spider-Man who just like paints the spider in blood and stuff, the design's kind of stupid. The story actually took me by surprise. And the reason I say Andrew would like it is that his story is basically, he is a vampire. He is basically the Dracula of that continuity. And MJ is the Van Helsing. And so one day she gets the assignment, like, all right, I'm going to go kill the spider vampire or whatever the hell his name is. And she goes into his lair and she's going to attack him. And they get into a fight and they start to brawl. But all of a sudden, right before she stakes him through the heart, she gets a blast of like every memory, like of every continuity. She realizes like, wait a minute, we're supposed to be together. Like, I'm Mary Jane, that's Peter Parker. We're destined to always be together. And that sort of gives her pause, and it lets Spider Vampire plunge his fangs into her, bring him into his like hold, his grasp or whatever. And now they're happy Spider-Man, Mary Jane, and Peter Parker. Again, stupid design. I thought it was kind of a fun little twist on their relationship. I also liked this little bit where MJ, when she gets blasted by all the memories, we actually get to see, look at that. Oh, I hit the button, but there's the Ultimate family is there. Like everybody remembers, like paying respect right next to Annie. So, yeah, that was the only cool thing I really wanted to point out, or not even. This isn't why I brought it up. It's just a stupid issue, but I thought you might like a Van Helsing Mary Jane who knows that she's destined to end up with Peter.
Well, that's good that at least one MJ knows this.
Somebody know two MJs know this now.
Yeah. Ultimate Universe for sure. All right, full moon.
Yes, that's what I was gonna say. Where do we go from here? Let's finally get into our books. Subhuman says it's JMS's fault for bringing in the spider totems and Slott for continuing with Spider-Verse. 1000%. Personally, I thought the spider totem stuff when I first read it was kind of possibly interesting, especially because Peter was like, I don't really give a crap. He's like, maybe that is what I am, but I do not care. Like, get away from me. It's kind of what you said though, Sub. Once Slott got a hold of it, and once that first event blew up so much, it was kind of done. There was nothing we could have done because Marvel would have seen the writing on the wall and gone, let's make 4,000 spider people. Of course. Like, yeah. This was the end game. It was inevitable. Yeah, Zero says, I mean, we did want him to become Prowler. Yes, but this is stupider because it's not just he's becoming Prowler. He's already Miles. And then like the Kree kill his uncle. And so he becomes a Spider Prowler. Like it is not, it is very, very stupid, Dozer. It is not, there's no credit to be given here. Let's put it that way. But yes, let's get into a book we actually read. I won't say it's enjoyable because we are arguably starting on the bottom of the pile. I mean, we just looked at all of this. Why not keep the trend going?
Yeah.
Let's see. Where are you? Bum, ba-da-bum, ba-da-dun-dun-dun-dun. There we go. Full moon. We are finally here at the closing issue of the Black Label. Yeah, it's a Black Label series. The Batman is a Werewolf series, essentially. And you guys might remember we talked about this last week really in depth. It was one of the books that or one of the topics that made us run over by a lot. But because we were talking about how we really didn't like the art. You guys might remember the really weird, belly pouch Zatanna with no shoes on at like a fancy cafe, all that sort of fun stuff. Mm-hmm. So we didn't really get to talk about the last issue. We had a full week when number 3 came out. Quick recap, I guess, for where we are. Honestly, so this is sort of the problem. Not a lot really happens. Issue 3, Bruce was dealing with, becoming a vampire or a werewolf. He got into his first fight with Talbot, and that was it. And then they said, we got to go find a cure. So it was like, okay, we're moving along. It was one of those issues, just sort of like move the plot along issues. So
exactly,
with issue 4, both of us, going, all right, here we go. We're going to close out. It's going to be great. And if you guys remember, even though we aren't really fans of the art, we were the
story had us.
We were really,
we were literally just excited. Saying this last week. One of the reasons why we went over so much last week, like you just said, was we were like, hey, yeah, we hate this art, but the story was still really good and engaging. So we were sticking with it. And it's only a 4-part miniseries. So that's,
right. So
that's
no
not a super hard
back.
commitment. Yeah, that's not a hard commitment to make. Right. But unfortunately, they didn't stick the landing. It felt incredibly rushed. There is a section that is like 2 pages that feels like it was probably supposed to be a whole additional issue. Like this was probably supposed to be a 5-parter initially. And DC editorial was like, hey, we need you to chop this down to 4 issues, actually. Yes. And so the writer, I forget his name, was like,
Rodney Barnes, whoever.
Rodney Barnes, yeah. They're like, hey, yeah, Rodney, we need you to chop this down to 4 issues. And he's like, probably like, whoa, well, crap. All right. What am I going to get rid of?
Yeah,
like,
what do I get rid of?
5 issues is already pretty tight, right? For an arc.
That's really tight.
Like that's, most arcs are 6 issues, anywhere between 22 and 24 pages, right? On average. And so unfortunately, this issue's finale, this mini's finale felt very rushed. And the wrap up felt like it came out of nowhere. It came off as a Deus Ex Machina. And I could tell while reading it, this wasn't supposed to come across this way. This was supposed to be way more fleshed out. And I bet there's a script that proves me right. But unfortunately, that's not what we got in the finished product. And that's sad because this was a very rare case where I did not
especially
like the art one bit. And I was still genuinely looking forward to each issue because the story was cool.
It was so cool. And yeah, like Andrew said, we'll get into it right now. This was a big disappointment. Before we move away from this, I just wanted to note, like, why couldn't more of the art have been like this? This is cool. Like, this cover is rad. Like, I feel like this is what they were going for. And then I don't know what the hell happens when we get into the book. But as Andrew said, we pick back up right after Bruce and Talbot have fought as werewolves, and that is where we find John Talbot. We find this very interesting bit where he is just he's trying to kill himself. He can't because the werewolf always takes back over, kind of like the Hulk.
I was literally about to say that. It's like the Hulk. I tried putting a gun into my mouth, right, and pulling the
other
trigger,
guy.
And the other guy spit it out. Right?
I love that line.
It's a good line. He's a boring Wonder Bread actor, and
his
Bruce Banner is inferior to Edward Norton's. However, that was a good line.
Edwards, they need to give like Mark Ruffalo Edwards acting, because like I love Edward Norton as the Hulk or as Bruce, but I can't see him because I'm like, you're just too like handsome. Like you're too
interesting. So you just visually you don't see Edward Norton for Bruce Banner.
Yeah,
okay,
that is literally everything else. I love that performance. I love him as Bruce, but it's like you're not schlubby enough almost, right? Like you're not pathetic enough, which is what Ruffalo does better. If
Ruffalo does pathetic and schlubby very well.
I chose my words very carefully. But yeah, so I think this is probably the 2-page part you were talking about, because this is where we get Talbot's backstory. He's trying to kill himself.
Yeah, I feel like his backstory was supposed to be just about a whole. I feel like it was supposed to be a whole issue. Like issue 4
think so too.
Was supposed to be him telling that fortune teller Zenobia, him recounting to her his past.
Yes,
right. Because it was just supposed to be that, and maybe we get a couple of breaks between.
Showing
certain pages of Constantine trying to work with Dr. Langstrom on a cure for Bruce, right?
We'll get to that.
That's all issue 4 was supposed to be.
But then editorial came in, and this is what we got, because I don't know about you. This was my own read of this, because like I thought this could have been really interesting. Like he was a soldier. He thought he was just like, this is a really interesting exchange of dialogue. It's not groundbreaking, but I thought it was like, interesting, where he goes, why, like, tell me, why have I why me? I'm a good man. Why am I cursed like this? And she goes, good's a matter of perspective. And he's like, what? And she goes, you've killed a lot of people. And he's like, but I was just a soldier. I was just like, I was just following orders. I was doing my job. And she's like, be that as it may, like evil forces have they're keeping score, and this is where we're at. And it's even made a little, I really liked in that last panel, they the artist highlights, like, Talbot keeps a, what do you call it, like a rosary hanging from his helmet. Like, he's religious. So I don't know. It's one of those horrors of war type things. Like, we don't really ever really want to think about, but it's there. And yeah, I think there was probably the fourth issue was him talking about all of that. I feel like we would have really gotten into how brutal or what his crimes were, but instead it's just like he was a soldier, which again, I get, but I feel like they really wanted to sell it more than just being a soldier, right?
Sure.
So yeah, essentially from there, Talbot goes, oh, okay, if there's no escape from this, then I'm just going to give in. I'm just going to be the werewolf. Forget it. Like, and so he lumbers off. Zatanna and Bruce are making their way to the same fortune teller for, I don't even really know. I guess they're just trying to get answers as well, just like Talbot was. But
yeah,
then we cut to John Constantine and Dr. Langstrom. They are still trying to find a cure. They're digging into the DNA. They're looking up all this stuff.
It's mostly, this whole scene is just John being a dick, really.
Which
is something that he does. It's not like it's out of character. But this scene, because it feels so rushed, and I'm not a betting person, but I am just about at the point where I'd be willing to put money on there is a script for this arc where issue 4 is literally what we just said.
I genuinely think so.
Because this scene right here feels even more rushed.
This scene feels rushed because this is really all we get. It's literally this page, and then we see John later when he like warps in, but this is all we get of these two. And there's an overarching thread, or not an overarching one, but there's a thread in this issue where after the fight last issue, John's like, isn't it weird that Bruce Wayne got bit by a werewolf and then there was a werewolf wearing like a bat suit, like running around Gotham? Like, ain't that a little weird? And everybody just kind of is like trying to ignore it. Like just like
John doesn't know Bruce's real identity in this.
Or not right? Nobody, but like, yeah, John doesn't. The greater does, DC, obviously. Yeah, and Langstrom knows, but not the greater DCU.
Exactly. So I feel like the two plots, your A and your B plot for issue 4, was supposed to be Talbot recounting his history to Zenobia, the fortune teller, and then Constantine, while working in conjunction with Langstrom on a cure for Bruce Wayne, it's also him trying to figure out this mystery of like, why was this werewolf suddenly wearing a bat symbol? Right? Like, I feel like that was supposed to be a whole issue unto itself. And then the issue 5 was supposed to be the culmination of those two things happening. And also like a far more drawn out and epic and high stakes fight where this thing that Zenobia hands to Zatanna to end the fight doesn't feel like it just comes out of nowhere like a Deus Ex Machina. Well, because the pacing and the storytelling in this issue feels inconsistent with the first 3 issues. The first 3, so unless I am to just believe that Rodney Barnes doesn't know how to stick a landing, my assumption is going to be editorial forced his hand, and therefore it felt like he didn't know how to stick the landing. Well, I don't know enough about his work to accuse him of that, but I know enough about editorial and mainstream comics to be able to accuse them of that.
And just storytelling in general. It's because, to your point, so we get all of these characters that we're looking at, like Constantine and Langstrom, the poor people like that were living in like the Gotham Skid Row or whatever, and then Alfred and Gordon. These have all been characters that have had their focus. They've been pivotal in the story. These pages I just showed you guys, that's it.
Feel like they're just
Constantine comes back, but footnotes. That's it for the rest of them. Exactly.
Yeah, they're all footnotes. It feels like they were all supposed to have a lot more involvement.
Well, especially like her, like the sister or whatever. Like
like the sister of the church. Like she had heavy involvement and importance in the first 3 issues, and now she just kind of like has a couple of panels and that's it. And it's like, when I closed this issue, I was like, editorial messed with this. That's the only, maybe not the only, but it's the most likely. Logical.
Yeah.
Right. It's the thing that seems the most feasible. All other things equal, and that's unfortunate because I I could see the like highlights in here, and the first 3 issues were great story wise, despite me hating the art. But man, it's unfortunate because it makes it look like Rodney Barnes is a writer that doesn't know how to stick the landing, and it's not his. I don't think it's his fault. I don't believe it's his fault. I really don't.
We have those other 3 issues, which were paced fine. They were setting everything up. We had it. This feels definitely like they chopped it, especially with, as we get into this, this is just more of Talbot's backstory. He's like, yes, I got attacked by a werewolf in the forest and it made me a werewolf.
All right, the werewolf killed all the other guys. I wish it had killed me instead and made one of the other guys a werewolf, blah, blah, blah.
Blah, blah, blah.
Because, he hates what he's become, though he comes to this determination
this is a pretty
later
cool
on.
Page, though. I'll say that.
Yeah, no, that's a good splash, for sure. The artist is really great with shadowing and creepy monsters, but drawing normal human beings.
There's a panel I will highlight later where it was another one of those 12-minute staring at the book going, what the hell am I looking at moments? Because I was just so confused.
I think I know what you're talking about too.
But no, go ahead. Yeah.
I was just going to say
I was just recapping.
He comes to this weird determination that he's just going to, accept and lean into the beast within. And it's all right. So you're just going to ignore everything we know about your character in the span of 2 panels.
Right.
Okay.
And then
just all of these things stacking on top of each other make me think they rushed the conclusion.
We've also what also gave me a feeling that it was rushed is we have Constantine and Zatanna here, right? Just from issue 1. When you involve those 2 in a DC thing, you generally unlock the greater magic DCU, right? Like if you have one of them, maybe they just hang out and they help you magic. But if you're with both of them, there's a good chance you're going to see some sort of magic adventure. You're going to see Madame Xanadu or Black Orchid or Detective Chimp, Bar with no name. Here, Talbot goes to this one person and then he just goes, oh, okay, I'm going to go be a werewolf then. Screw it. He doesn't go seek anybody else out, even though clearly he's got the knowledge of again, Madame Xanadu or just anybody. So maybe issue 4 also had him montaging through people. Here, I'm talking to Zenobia. I'm talking to Xanadu. Okay, now I've finally come to the point where I realize nothing will help. Screw it. But
nothing in medicine, nothing in magic.
Right. But after one thing, he's just all right, never mind, bye. But as Andrew was saying, we eventually get to the climax of the series where Bruce and Talbot let their inner werewolf go. And you would think this would be really cool.
But it's not. We don't really see much of a fight.
It's really the last fight between them was a little better. And even that one was kind of lame because this artist, like you said, good with shadows and everything, forms, movement is not good for him. So when he's trying to show a fight,
dynamic movement and fight choreography, layouts and breakdowns, not his strong suit. And it really shows. And unfortunately, there are a lot of things that shoot the finale to this mini in the foot, but that's definitely one of them.
Oh yeah.
This is supposed.
Oh. Can you hear me?
You muted?
No, my headphones died for some weird reason. What was that last thing you were saying?
I was saying that it's unfortunate because we were supposed to get this kind of, it feels like anyways, some epic, knockout, drag down fight.
Yeah.
We didn't get that.
We get these odd few panels, guys, of vague werewolf action. The most action.
Yeah, there's not even much connection.
There isn't. The most connection is that last panel where Zatanna summons a dirt werewolf to protect her for a second, Castlevania style.
Yeah.
And that's about it. We see them shredding some trees here, but there's no, like Andrew said, they don't connect. You just sort of see them in mid throw. There's some very vague slashing. There's some vague blast from Zatanna. Again, like we said, the art's not great here. And so you kind of really don't know what's happening. And there's also just not a lot happening. We have a bite. We have a scratch. Feel like we could have done a little bit more than that. Or done one of those 2-page splashes where there's a bunch of shots of them fighting, right? So there's biting, slashing, punch, all that stuff.
What you do is you have an epic 2-page spread where you really go all out with the two of them connecting in their struggle, right? Because there's no connection.
Yeah.
And then you have a handful of inset panels where you show a claw slashing and gashing against one of their abdomens or something like that. You could show one of them biting on the other's neck, whatever. You use a couple of small inset panels for that. And you'd have yourself a really cool scene, a really cool sequence. But yeah, this was part of that is also
like, this is our splash page of the fight.
Yeah,
and they're going to Z.
Weak.
Like it is weak. That is the perfect word for it.
It's incredibly weak. Part of that is, I think, so in the case of this book, it's a combination of both the writer and the artist. Because the artist is already showing themselves not to like really have much in the way of like dynamicism to their work.
And the artist should, or the writer should have known that. Yeah.
The writer should play to the artist's strengths. On top of that, the writer should still be trying to like give the reader as much dynamicism as they can get. So that's when you say, hey, here's this. I'm going to write this 2-page spread. I'm going to give you a couple inset panels to do your close-ups. Make it work.
But here he probably just went, do it. Like artist choice or whatever. And so he tried, and it doesn't work. And then, so we get this is where it gets even more stupid. So we got all of that fight. Okay, cool. They're fighting, blah, 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 blah. Langstrom goes, oh, guess what? I may have found a possible cure. And Constantine goes, okay, let me see what I can do to help you.
And he grabs it and leaves.
Well, he does. And, oh yeah, that's what he says. He's like, let me get to work. It's the only reason I'm here. And then Zatanna goes to Zenobia. And she's like, I need a little more help than just, vague voodoo, you have the curse. And she's like, oh, okay, well, you got to kill the vampire that infected Bruce. And she goes, yeah, I know. And like, they have like a debate over it, but I didn't understand it. It's like, it's
like
Zatanna.
A 2-panel thing. And then here's this thing that will kill the werewolf that infected the other guy. And the other guy will then be freed from the curse.
And literally
it happens in 1 page.
Well,
and then the conclusion happens in like 1 or 2 panels.
So yeah, that's this thing I wanted to add to that is Zatanna gets handed this item by Zenobia. Literally,
we don't even know what it is.
Literally never told what it is.
No idea what it is.
All we see is she goes, try this. It's the only way. And then right here, Zatanna pops in like with a portal, stabs Talbot with it, and we're done. And he starts morphing back, and now Bruce is cured, like, done. And like John shows up and goes, hey, you're done.
Yeah.
Like, so
we just wasted all of that time with Langstrom and Constantine.
We didn't need any of that. And that's where I think both of us get that sense of rush, because you resolved it like this after 3 issues of really focusing on them.
I feel like something was supposed to happen.
With just a stab. Yeah.
I feel like something was supposed to happen to one of I feel like both solutions were probably supposed to be viable. Something was supposed to happen that broke one of them.
Right. I can see that.
And then the other one shows up and helps to save the day. But we didn't get that.
And you know what? It was probably the medical cure probably broke or whatever. So then it led to the tragedy of like, well, I have to kill him. And but instead, like we said, they just chopped it all up, and I don't even know.
Like, honestly, the original goal was probably to try and be able to save them both, right? Reverse both of their transformations, reverse both of their curses with the medical version. And then when that didn't bear out, then I was like, okay, so we got
knife time.
Yeah, but unfortunate and disappointing ending. The epilogue
and
is just Bruce helping out at like basically soup kitchen at the cathedral, which like, okay, that's actually like, I don't hate that.
No,
but I'm still coming off of this super disappointing climax.
Yeah, and well, then they also have this dumb shot at the end of like Zatanna and Bruce having like the Superman and Lois kiss, and I'm like, I never got the sense until this issue that they actually were in some sort of thing. It always felt like they were like, it felt like Bruce was trying to court her.
Just kind of like, it felt like they were just kind of like hanging out and dating. Right? Yeah. And then you have like this, it's a Superman kiss shot, and you're like, what?
Well, and then there's that, she mentions to Zenobia like, I don't want to kill both werewolves. I really care about one of them. And I'm like, what? Like, huh? That we got none of that. But the, so yeah, overall guys, could have been fun. was for 3 issues, ultimately left us
three out of
disappointed.
4. 3 out of 4, but the landing wasn't stuck.
So hopefully someday we'll get a cool werewolf Batman story, because I think there's something here, but ultimately this wasn't where you're gonna get it. So the art I wanted to point out was this panel, this second panel here that I've got up. I guess it'll be the one on the left, because in this scene, John shows up. Bruce is on the ground. Talbot is on the ground, stabbed. Bruce is sort of like, coming back to his senses, untransforming. Zatanna's there. John says like, hey, like, what's going on? And so she goes, it's over, John. And he says, so I traded a year of my life to a demon to conjure me here for nothing. And she says, not now. Let's show a little respect for the dead. This word bubble indicates it's coming from like Constantine, but I don't understand whose hair that's supposed to be. Is that Talbot's hair? Is he looking at Talbot's body and they just messed up the word? That's what I mean. I saw this panel and I'm like, is it a face? Is it somebody? I was just baffled by it. And that was sort of, I was already disappointed by the story, like you said. And then I get to this and it just went, like it's the meal might have been like, and I might have been like, okay, if we got past it. But this was like that last bite that had the gross spice on it that just made it like, that's the one that lasts in your mouth. And you just go, I'm done here. Like, blah, 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 blah. So yeah. There it is. Also, I just noticed this. The sister's here. Like, she actually shows up here. She's like doing the soup kitchen. I didn't even realize she made another appearance. So I guess
it's because she felt so inconsequential in this issue compared to the last 3. Like, she was an important character in the last 3. Like, she was kind of a moral grounding for like the people that she was presiding over, as well as like trying to also help Talbot. Like, there was a good story going on there, actually. Like, there was an emotional and very human story. Whether you're religious or not, there was a human story being told there. And that was something that's like, okay, that's relatable. That's something you can work with. And that's something it felt like it was building to something. And then this issue just, this issue feels like it was called to absolute hell.
So yeah, overall bummer. We're done with it. So there's no dropping it, but maybe if you guys pick it up for like $5 on a sale, it's worth it.
Yeah, I was gonna say, if you get it $5 to $10 as a trade,
as a trade,
there's a good, if you're somebody who's story over art, or this type of art, this very kind of like gritty indie
it might hit
art
for you.
Is your deal. Maybe that hits for you, right?
Like,
and that's
it's not
totally
it's
cool.
not our thing, but if it's yours, go for it.
It's a subjective thing. So if you're here for it, awesome, cool. You might actually get something out of this, and we did for the first 3 issues. 4th, just kind of. The ball.
I hope someday we get like they either release like the 4th issue or whatever,
uncut version or something.
Yeah, that's what I was
like
looking
that.
for. Yeah, or they do like an absolute edition and it's in there. But overall, that sucked. This right here is the best part about the issue, was the ad for the Sonic crossover.
Yeah, Sonic and DC crossover. We'll see how that goes. I'm not expecting anything groundbreaking out of it. I just want it to be fun and goofy and keep characters in character and
And I want to see, I definitely want to see everybody like put on the superhero costumes that we know they're going to get, like Silver becomes a Green Lantern and stuff. So might be cool. But with that, I need to turn on the air conditioning in my room because I am freaking burning up. So before we get to the next book, there we go. Air is on. All right. I say, with that, let's finally get out of the mud, out of the crap from the week, and we'll stay in Gotham, but we'll start getting into some more interesting stuff. And I figured we will hop into another Bat family member with Batgirl number 5. Oh yeah, I forgot to do this.
Cassandra Cain.
Mary is here. Hello, Mary. How's it going? And yes, I know his poor voice. We gotta get Eric to like give him a break. No more meetings or something, or teach him sign language. Nightmare on House Street.
It just might means that I skip my Saturday stream for like the 5th week in a row.
Oh no, you have to play Monster Hunter on your own to enjoy
like,
it
that's
completely by yourself.
Like,
oh no.
I'll just like, now that the patches are out for it that have cleaned up the performance issues that were day 1 issues and not day 2 issues, like they put out like an overnight
they were fast. They were
quick with it. Yeah, they fixed it quick, which was great. I was happy
that
about
was a brutal error. For those who don't know, it was just basically disconnecting you at all times, crashing.
Yeah, it was super bad.
It's like an optimization thing, but it was bad, but it's fixed.
And to be fair, Capcom's kind of notorious for bad optimization on day one for their PC releases, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway, like that, basically all that is to say, like, if I don't do my Saturday afternoon, like, solo game stream, I'll just freaking play Monster Hunter on my own. But Batgirl, a fun book.
At this point, I feel like if I'm not talking to you, that's just what you're doing. But B, yes, Batgirl number 5, guys, gals, and Andrew, like, I'm always kind of impressed by this book. This book is really good. And I kind of don't expect it. Not in a bad way. You know what I mean? It's just sort of like, I forget it's there, and then I read it, and I'm like, oh, that's right, this rules.
I feel like calling it a sleeper hit isn't quite accurate, because it's not amazing, but it's like really solid. And so it's like an unexpected, like, oh, this is, I think more like under the radar is probably more accurate. Like, it's kind of like, wow, like this was good. This was solid. Like, my mind isn't blown, but the storytelling is doing its job. There were a couple of moments in this issue in particular, though, where I feel like Cassandra felt a slightly out of character in like one or two panels, but beyond that, like, the storytelling is pretty spot on. It's pretty solid, and I'm looking forward to seeing how it wraps up, because it is just a 6-issue mini.
Which is so sad. I really do hope this ends up being like a Scarlet Witch situation where they
kind of take it mini by mini. It's like, hey, people want more.
So it's like, here's Batgirl, and then follow the rest of Cassandra's story in Batgirl, and then there's like Batgirl, Gotham hero. I know, especially with what we got in this book.
I'd kind of be down with like just doing a 5 or 6 issue mini, calling it Batgirl and Batgirl, or calling it Batgirls, right?
Well, they did do Batgirls, and it was lame. Do you remember that? It was like a couple years ago. It was like a Cass and Stephanie book, but it was very much written in the YA. It was a main book, but it was very YA feeling. So
do a book with
we deserve
that title and those characters, but don't do it crappy.
Yeah, don't do it crappy. Easiest advice. Why doesn't everybody just do that?
Right.
But yeah, I think it's like the consistency, I think, is what it is, because like we've been talking about, you know, we picked up Batman Full Moon. That was kind of bad, or it was rough, and then it got weird. JSA started at a 4, maybe a 5, and then it just torpedoed really hard. So to get something that we know we'll enjoy, that will deliver a good time, it's almost worth its price of admission alone just for that, knowing that if I have a Batgirl, I'm gonna see something in it that I enjoy, that I'm gonna like it. So yeah, if you guys don't remember where we are here, Cassandra Cain is teaming up with Lady Shiva, her mom, to fight I forget what they're called, but they're like an ancient order who is coming after them because Lady Shiva tried to steal their blue petal flower that gives them special Wakanda powers. It's literally the purple petal from Wakanda, but
that's literally what it is.
But it's blue here. So those are the flowers we see here on the cover. If you guys don't remember, last issue, we got that awesome train fight where we had the like 2-3 page spreads of her, you know, fighting through the train car. At the end, the other organization wins, blows up the train car, leaves her for dead. She gets picked up by, I forget his name, but he's like the one really nice guy in Lady Shiva's like death cult or whatever. So she's very...
I forget his name too, but like he's a side character.
Yeah, very. I think he's interesting though, because it definitely, at least for like, not him, but what he does for Cass, because she very much knows, like, you're with my mom, bad, but you are like a genuinely good person. What do I like think? So I'm glad they're not focusing on it, but it's an interesting little bit. So yeah, Cassandra tagged her mom with a bat tracker, follows her mom to where she should be hiding out. Getting some really good, just solid art here. Like I always kind of like the art in this book, no matter what. We get this really, I liked this. I
love when artists know how to take advantage of a single page splash or any one panel and show like a lot of movement, and a lot of dynamicism in it. And, like this artist is consistent with being able to do that.
You could have had just like Cassandra jumping down, like wall jumping, like in Melee or Smash.
She could have just been doing like a typical Batman or drop that down, with the cape spread.
Yeah.
Like we've seen Bruce do that a million times over, but instead the artist the writer, to their credit, I'm sure, played into Cassandra's strengths.
Yep, and her nimble, her stealth, her agility. So really cool. She gets into the cave. She starts stealthing around. She sort of sees all of their operations. Then she, I actually kind of got taken aback by that last panel where she's spying around on these ninjas. All of a sudden, there's like a kid, and he's like laughing, and he's just like running around normal. And we discover that they're evil, but there's still like a society down here. There's still people. Maybe not all of them are, that dedicated to whatever this group is. I totally forget what their name is, and I feel bad. But
the Unburied.
The Unburied. Yes, perfect. Yeah. So the Unburied, they have a loyalty, but we don't know. It's one of those, again, wartime morality sort of things. And so Batgirl stealths her way in. She's following the enemy. They're just pretty much talking about their plans. Like, we're going to get them. Like, I'm going to get my revenge. She gets caught and, starts getting the crap beaten out of her.
They found the track. They're not idiots. They found the tracker and took it off Lady Shiva.
Which I love that too, because this bottom panel on this page, like that, whatever her name is, Scissors Lady, she sees Cassie. Like she saw her land, and I'm like, oh, she's not as stealthy as she thinks. Yeah. And again, if it was a girl boss character, she would have taken them all out in like one kick. But they actually remember she's not Bruce. Like she has a ways to go. So she basically, like Andrew said, they take the tracker. They're like, haha, it was us. Knock the crap out of her. And I loved this page, or just this shot of her. But
that's a great shot.
Yeah, Cass gets up.
Great shot.
And is just like, let's go. Was this one of the panels that you felt a little odd about? Because I felt a little odd about that. Like her quip, test your luck. I was like, doesn't feel like Cassie.
That was to a lesser degree one of them.
Yeah.
I think it was one of the dream sequence panels where she's talking with like not Stephanie. That really was kind of like, so I feel like Cass wouldn't say that or wouldn't say it like that.
Yes, and we'll talk about that because I know what you're talking about, and I have an explanation. I'm the Andrew in this situation for once. But Cassie keeps fighting against the Unburied. There's this really cool little motif where she's sort of like remembering the ghost of her mom, or like what her mom would tell her. So she's sort of like a phantom there talking in her ear. Get this really cool shot of Cassie doing she just like whoops everybody's butt. And then she's in front of the last Unburied buff dude, goes at him, tries her hardest to take him down, throws some explosive batarangs at him, finds her way knocked down into the pit of all the blue flowers that we saw on the cover. The fight continues. Before we move on from this part, how do you feel here, Andrew, about the difference in text sizes? Because this villain does what we talked about in Flash, but I want to get your read on it before I give my thoughts on it.
Well, so when we're talking comic book lettering styles, if you're the writer and you are wanting to emphasize to the letterer that what a specific character is saying is being said very softly, it's under the breath. That could be for various reasons. Maybe it's because they're deliberately trying to be like creepy, right? Or maybe because they're, depending on how you shape the bubble.
Yeah.
Maybe that's because they're like, the character's like super woozy and they're out of it. Maybe they're ready to pass out, right? Like you can do that. You could shrink down the text. You can shrink that down and have that effect. The issue with the Flash book is that it's like all over the place constantly. Whereas here it came across to me as the character is being very stealthy.
Yes.
Being very quiet, very deliberately.
Yep. That was sort of the same read I got. I will admit I was perturbed by it for a little bit and I couldn't figure out why. I think, and you you touched upon it a second ago, they put all of her like words in lowercase letters. And I think that is weird to me. Like I get what they're going for. They're going for the whisper. They're going for the quiet, but that's when you do the all caps like we normally get and you just shrink it down, or you make sure you like don't bold any of the words. Doing all lowercase feels wrong to me. And I don't know, I just didn't visually like that. But I agree with you, it was not Flash levels, because it actually made sense to what we're doing in this book.
It was situational here, whereas...
Yes, that's the right word.
In the Flash book, it's just like literally every other bubble is changing.
just for the heck of it, just so you can have some.
For no reason that we can determine, which is one of the many reasons why we dropped that book. Because
I was gonna say, I was waiting for you because you were like one of the problems with Flash, and I was like, one. But there you go.
Yeah,
it's
one of the 8,000.
Many of them. Yeah. So then with that blast, let me switch over to the right page. We whoever that enemy is, Scissors Lady, knocks out Cass. She starts having sort of a dream hallucination. All of these panels, I learned, are actually from old issues. Like they're from, as a Subhuman brought up, they're from Cassie's original Batgirl run and various other like Birds of Prey stories. I was really impressed by that. Like all of them.
Well, that's called the writers,
except for the baby. The baby thing is new, but
yeah, the writer and the artist did their homework there, and that's good to see. You always like seeing that because it also know what they're talking about.
Well, because they know what they're talking about, it also makes me feel like they care. Like they're on Batgirl because they like Batgirl. They're not just here because, okay, this is my next job to do. Like, all right, I'll get past this and maybe they'll put me on Batman. So then from there, we get to what Andrew was talking about a second ago. And on my end, I would say this was my personal highlight of the issue. As Cassie is knocked out, as she's having this weird hallucination, she sees a vision of Stephanie Brown, the former Robin, currently spoiler, was a Batgirl for a little bit. And she kind of uses her as like the sounding board.
It's part of her family.
Very much part of her family. She's like the first Batgirl she always or the first one she always references whenever she's going through the list. So we get this really sweet pep talk here, or how do I phrase this? Maybe not sweet, but we get this moment of Cassandra actually being like, I don't know what to do. Like, I'm actually out of my element. And Stephanie just kind of goes, it's you. Like, don't worry. Like, we're Bat family. You're Batgirl. We've got this. Now you got to wake up. And with that, we get that, she punches her out, wakes her up. We find out, oh, hey, check that out. She's been captured with Lady Shiva. And this is where we will pick back up in the next issue.
I really hope that issue 6, the finale to this mini, has some fantastic action showing Cassandra and Lady Shiva. Like there's high opportunity here, which also equally means that like there's high opportunity for disappointment if they don't stick the landing. Because you have two of the greatest fighters in the DC universe, Cassandra Cain and Lady Shiva. And are you going to take advantage of that? Like, are you going to be like, these are two of the most skilled martial artists in this entire universe. Please tell me you plan to take advantage of that and give us just like a really, because each issue has had like at least one cool action scene, right? This one didn't really have much in the way of a cool fight. It had like little hints of
it had like this moment where she's like sort of like moving fast, but you're right. It's not,
which is cool. I feel like this was that moment where they were like, all right, we're going to like dip down just for a second. And then we're going to finish this off like a really high note. And that's what my fingers are crossed for. Cause I feel like that's what we could absolutely get.
No, I definitely agree with you. And fingers crossed. I trust these guys because we've gotten 5 issues so far. It doesn't seem like they're being rushed. Every like we were saying, every issue has been fun to read and it's satisfying. So I do have hopes for that. The one thing I will say, and I know you're running off real quick, but I know you have your headphones in. So what Andrew was talking about is during this dream sequence, we get a very different look into Cassandra Cain. There's this moment here where she kind of goes like, I'm not good at talking. I don't know what to do. And Cassie goes like, but you're Cassandra. Like, think like you can do this. And we get this really big diatribe from her on this page where she starts talking about like, I don't know what to do with Lady Shiva. I don't know what, do I trust her? Maybe she was abused by like my dad, like I was, by David Cain. I have no idea. And that is where we sort of, she deals with it, tells like, I hate you. Like, I'm not going to, I like this line. She says, I cannot love my mom because I do not love those parts of me. I love her because she is those parts of me. How does that make sense? And she's sort of like spiraling, trying to get a grip on it. Eventually, she lets it all out. She gets that hug from Cassie and Cassie wakes her up. Now, Andrew's not wrong in saying that this on its face is a little weird because as we know of Cassandra, she was, raised as the silent assassin. She barely knows any words. She knows she's able to talk now, but she had to learn a lot of it from hanging around Bruce and the rest of the Bat family. So this normally, whoa, what happened to my voice there? We're transmitting voice cracks through the internet now. I'm getting his poor voice. But while I agree, normally this would not make any sense. What I think should be pointed out, and this is at least something that I read and I went, oh, I actually really like what they're doing here. We got to remember that, like, this is in her mind, right? Like, this is her brain. So while she might not know how to talk and she might not know how to get those words out, she's still able to think in her mind. So here it's just sort of that easier, like, that's what I liked about this, is that, yes, we are inside her mind. That's why she's able to talk like this, because this is, to her, it's always normal. But we do know that she, in real life, she doesn't talk that much. So I definitely understand where Andrew was coming from. When he gets back, maybe he'll say I'm stupid, or maybe he'll say I'm the smartest person ever. But that was at least my read of it.
You're stupid, he's back. Mary's the smartest person ever.
Now, I don't. Now your voice went all wacky. Hold on a second, guys. Let me do, and then we're going to reconnect, if maybe, and okay, testing. Say something.
Something.
There we go. I have no idea what's going on. Whenever you step away, you come back and you sound like a robot. But
that's weird. Video's
being weird to us these last few weeks. That might be another element of upgrading our layout. I have to find something better. But you're back now. We're here. Did you hear anything of what I just said? Do you have any thoughts?
I did. Like I can understand where you're coming from.
Yeah.
It's still hard for me to really, like, maybe she could be more open with Stephanie Brown. I'm willing to, leave room for that. But it's still the wording. I think maybe the words themselves that she utilizes don't quite sound like how I would envision Cassandra
That's
Cain
fair.
to talk. So, but
she
either way,
say
like, it was still
thing,
a good. It was still a good scene overall, and served the plot well in terms of moving it forward. But like, just some of the word choices I think were kind of a miss.
And you know what? Now that you say that, I can see that. I didn't feel that at first, but now I see it. Like, she says here, like, I've spent my life unlearning what he taught me. And I'm like, that is correct, but doesn't feel like Cass. Like, even in her head, she wouldn't use the word
like, there's a different way to say that.
Like, I tried to forget, or, I tried to bury it or something. Like, that sounds more like what she would say than unlearning. Unlearning sounds too therapy speaky.
Yeah, it doesn't come across quite as Cass, which, I mean, to the writer's credit, like, they've been writing Cass pretty consistently as Cass. There were just a couple of panels, a couple of dialogue boxes, and in this issue there was kind of like, it doesn't quite sound like Cain.
Yeah, and I can definitely get that. To Hill,
but either way, I think we're set up for a probably a pretty cool finale.
Oh no, you're frozen again.
What?
You're frozen on our layout.
For reals? Okay, I'm just gonna refresh. It's gonna boot me for a second.
That's gonna be the easiest thing. But Tehillim brings up, are those the flowers from Batman Begins? You know what, Tehillim? I didn't even think about that, but I think you are completely correct. Yeah, you're good now. You're back in motion. Did you realize that, Andrew?
What?
That these are probably the flowers from Batman Begins?
Yeah, we talked about that after like the first issue.
We did. Remember? That's right. You were the one who brought it up. Clearly, guys, I have some weird block in my mind for the flowers being in that movie, even though that's my favorite entry in that trilogy. Yeah. No idea like why I keep forgetting that. Look at that. This is the kind of quality personal service we get on Foil Very. Yeah, full circle.
Yeah, we're probably set up for a pretty cool finale. And otherwise, the book has been solid.
Yeah, nothing to really complain about, and
it's better than the main Batman book. Right now,
I mean, not really a high bar. I don't even know what's going on in Detective Comics. I just do not care about Mariko Tamaki. I'm not going anywhere near her writing. But with Batgirl out of the way, it's probably time. With Batman and Batgirl out of the way, let's make our jump over to the Marvel universe. We're gonna multiverse it, guys. We're gonna jump over there. Whoa! But before we get into our major books, as always, it is that week. Andrew, how was Scarlet Witch?
Scarlet Witch was still pretty solid.
All right, that was Scarlet Witch. Let's get on to our next book.
I don't know what else to say about that book. Honestly, it's been solid up until this point. I'm looking forward to what the next 5 or 6 issue mini will be. And yeah, I can't complain. I have no complaints. Like at some point, I'll probably end up grabbing the trades for the last 3 arcs.
Which is that is a what do you call it? That's recommendation, compliment.
It means that I'm willing to reread them.
Right, exactly, and spend the money to reread them in a different format, even though you already have them. Just always got to bring it up. You never know if this is the week where they decided we're bringing back House of M or something, or they I don't know, they reintroduced the Ultimate Wanda and Pietro, who were brother and sister lovers. I don't even This book could do anything, so we always got to check in. But speaking of Ultimates and twists and all that stuff, or Ultimate Universes rather, and twists and all that
recalled stuff. On page 4.
Oh man, guys, seriously. So
it was pretty telegraphed, honestly. It's not a bad twist, but if you're paying attention, you call it pretty early in the book.
Yeah. So Ultimates number, what are we at? We're at 10 now. As you guys might remember, over these past few issues, Andrew and I, we were kind of really hot on this going into probably the first 5 or 6 issues.
The first arc was great.
Yeah, and
the first arc was super solid.
Whatever has happened in these last few issues, we've sort of lost the point. I feel like lost the plot literally, because
it feels like we're kind of meandering. We don't know where we're
going. We're meandering.
Or rather, maybe the writer knows where they're going, but they haven't determined quite how to get there.
It feels like we have a mission. We know what we're supposed to be doing, but we keep going on side quests that don't even really set us up with the new weapon for the next fight, but really just here's some experience points and gold. Yeah. Like we've all played those side quests in games, which you do because you need the money, but it's not exactly a fun time, right? It's grinding. But yes, we come back with the Ultimates, and at least in this issue, things actually happen. They actually apply to characters. There's a little bit of development. This issue is very focused on the Human Torch, the original Human Torch, Jim Hammond. We open with this pretty incredible page. I liked this art a lot of the Human Torch, literally, as he did in the 616 in all continuities, burning Hitler alive in his bunker. And there was this, I really liked this bit where somebody asked, I thought Hitler killed himself. And Jim's like, that was just a cover story. The Soviets were threatening a superhuman arms race and screaming about illegal deployment. Back then we had this thing called politics. I don't know. I was like, that's funny because that's exactly how it would have played out back then. Then we get this little bit about, this is such a little detail, but I really like this, Andrew. Jim Hammond, or the Wasp asks, do you remember killing Hitler? What did it feel like? And Jim tells him, I'm one of the oldest computers, so I don't really have a big memory bank. So I have to delete memories to not slow down. I thought that was never even thought about that. That is such an interesting bit. But then
he's not working off of an 8 terabyte hard drive here.
Well, now he is, now that he's been revived. But back
he
then
wasn't. Yeah, he wasn't. Yeah.
So with that, 2 megabyte hard drive, he always says or that's how he closes it. He's like, I deleted a lot of memories, but I always remember that one. And from there, we launch into the main event of what is happening, which is the Ultimates are storming one of the bases of the group known as the Red Skulls.
Red Skulls.
We've seen them hinted at before. They are basically, I actually really liked the explanation because this is definitely how it would go in real life. Right here, neo-Nazi movement inspired by Nazi super soldier Johann Schmidt that appropriated the tactics and iconography of 1970s New York officer turned vigilante Frank Castle. See Punisher, see Summer of Frank. That made me really interested because clearly we saw that panel, I think in issue 1 or 2, where the Punisher had the red headband on and he was lighting up. That's a big event, and clearly this being the Ultimate Universe and a little more grounded, they put a stop to it. They didn't just say, okay, Punisher, go be a vigilante. They said, whatever happened to him, they put him down. And then as a lot of, sad, small-dicked men do, they jumped on the iconography because it was something stronger than them, jumped on it, and now it's the Red Skull. And really good use of, what do you call it? Like reimagining things in the truest sense. Then we find out blah, 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 blah. We find out Tony is back. He's this kind of bugs.
He's no longer in a coma.
Yeah, but this bugged me because there was like no ceremony.
I was about to say we jumped from last issue where like he's waking up. Like nobody knows he's waking up, but we see like he's waking up, right? Like his eye opening. And then we just jump into this issue and he's awake and he's in surgery to like repair his body. And like, cool, I'm glad we got here, but I wish we had seen a little bit more of the in-between.
Yeah, I mean, especially because
I feel like a little bit more like
gravity.
Yeah, a little bit more gravity should have been put on that. Because he looked like he was freaking dead.
He looked like he was freaking dead. We had like 2 issues that ended with She-Hulk going over and like weeping and being like, you need to come back.
Yeah,
and
we
here
need you.
He's just, boom, I'm here.
Back.
And the only reaction is like, Tony, you're supposed to be in surgery. No, like, oh, shit, he's back. He's here. So
right, like all that would have required is a quick dialogue change of like Steve and the rest of the team not even know that he's up yet. But Tony, with as just determined as he was and his ambition as ambitious
like
as he was, like he freaking woke up. He got his own butt out of that like capsule, that pod that he was recovering
the iron lung or whatever it is.
Yeah, and like he started getting surgery performed on himself, and then he decides to call up Steve, right? And
right.
You could have like a really cool 2 or 3 panel interaction there that adds a lot of gravity, but I think that was a ball.
Glossed it over. I think so too. Yeah, definite ball dropping. So from there we get a pretty standard that stealth infiltration, and we get a little bit more character development in the Human Torch's observations. He's like, oh, the Wasp, she's perfect for this. Like, she's smart and she knows what she's doing. Hank, not so much. He's gonna get himself killed, and we know that's who these guys are.
He's unsure of himself. His heart really isn't in it, and I think that was actually a really poignant thing to mention, especially that his heart really wasn't in it. Because that's where it's like, all right, like his head's not in the game, his heart's not in it, so he's going to be the one that's going to for sure be more likely to make a mistake
and either get himself hurt or the rest of the team. So definite liability, and so I really like that bit. Pardon me. We then see the revelation that we know Tony's in surgery, but we didn't really know of what kind. He's literally having like spinal surgery with his entire back like ripped open.
I turned that page and was like, oh,
dude, as somebody, so like I've gotten tattoos and I'm kind of a baby when it comes to like pain of that nature, like needles. So I when he goes, I'm in surgery and I just got to focus on something to like keep through the pain, I was like, oh, I kind of, I sympathize when I'm getting my tattoos. Yeah. I need to like watch something or have a discussion. Otherwise, if I think, I'm going to like freak out and be like, this hurts so bad. But then, I saw that and I went, I am not even on that level. Like, this is way worse. Like, this is bad.
We ain't doing this.
I'm sure you noticed this, but this is one of the very rare moments in the Ultimates where we do get, or in all of the books really, where we got mention of everything else that is happening around the world. Except,
and we see Peter there with Green Goblin.
We see Peter with Green Goblin, which I think is like the Kingpin fight. Like that's when. So these aren't all completely accurate, because actually that's the Kingpin fight from Spider-Man. The X-Men panel there of Armor fighting the Shadow King hasn't happened yet. So like that's a future event. So this entire like timeline or like wherever we are in the 1 year till the Maker comes back, it's all up in the air. That's the interesting part. As for the Black Panther panel. No idea. That book is absolutely terrible. I dropped it a long time ago. So the infiltration continues. I really just wanted to point out this top panel. This is I thought this was a great way to show Cap throwing his shield and catching it again. Like you have the action in the first one, and then it connects in that second panel where he's just in a like running forward pose.
Extremely good paneling right there.
Yeah, that I really, 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 really like that. So from there, they storm the base, they get inside, and they discover Namor's body is being held on display with a bunch of different fish. And we meet the new Red Skull. And when we meet the Red Skull...
Grand Skull or whatever the hell he's called.
That's what it is. Yeah, Grand Skull. And the Grand Skull explains, back in the day, after World War II, we helped foment a revolution, and all the Atlanteans revolted, killed all the royal family, and killed Namor. and that's how he got his body. The one thing I want to point out, which isn't really like relevant to the story, but there's a fucking awesome like detail where obviously his body's dead. It's hanging up here, completely normal, preserved. And the Grand Skull points out like, isn't like, do you see that? Isn't that strange? He doesn't decay. It's almost as if like even the bioorganisms know their king. And I don't know. I just was like, that was
a
cool.
really cool point. Yeah. That was like, a really cool bit for them to write into that. It's like, wow, like that's like even those small microscopic bioorganisms that would contribute to the decay and the breakdown and all of that of the body after death. Like, they weren't.
They're like standing like, in like respect.
We're not. Yeah. Like that's actually really cool.
I really liked that. But then they also mentioned like, his body started becoming like a pilgrimage site, so we had to take it, and that's why it's hanging up here. And then we get the Ultimates. They fight. We get, boom, boom, boom. This was actually, I liked this a lot.
The utilization of John Walker.
Yeah, I thought this was fantastic because as we all know, John Walker, he was the replacement Captain America, eventually becomes a U.S. agent, is still very much a hero, but this is one of the things that the show got right. I'll give it to them. Very much a loose cannon, very much ready to like pop off at any minute. Yeah. So what we get is Red Skull. He has propaganda networks and everything. And Tony, when he gave everybody their suits and everything, like he gave to Peter, like he gave to the Ultimates, he went to John and said, "You're supposed to be U.S. agent. Here's a super soldier serum. Come help us fight." John doesn't know what he's doing because he's sort of fallen under the sway of the Grand Skull. Reaches out to him, says, "What do we do?" And he goes, "You know what? You're going to take it and you're going to work for us." So we definitely like straight up get John. Like, I don't know. That felt natural. That felt like it worked. It didn't feel like any commentary. It just felt like that's sort of how this would all naturally evolve. Yeah. Also like that they don't really have to fight him. The Human Torch just blows his like face off.
Human Torch is just like, no, we're not doing this.
And then it's so bad that literally reawakened from 1940s Captain America takes the Lord's name in vain. Like, that's how bad he goes. Jesus, Jim. Like, damn. Like, that was, Jim really went off there. So this is where we get to the sort of twist of the issue is they eventually break the Red Skull's helmet. It is, it has a bunch of technology that lets him, have fake a bigger presence, more suggestive with his words. They break that, so it's not working anymore. He teleports out. As he teleports out, the Ultimates are done. They bury Namor. Then we get, the last second revelation that it might be Bucky who is the Red Skull. And it's very obvious. I don't know.
I was going to say, like, the second he walked in, because we had already gotten a panel showing earlier on, Bucky with Cap and with Human Torch and Namor and all that.
Yeah, right here, at the bottom.
Yeah, the second he walked in, I looked at his stature compared to the rest of the characters.
Very short.
I looked at his outfit, and I was like, that's Bucky.
See,
they just made Bucky Red Skull here. I was like, that's interesting.
It's interesting. I got it because there's a moment where, right here, when Jim and Cap find Namor's body, the Grand Skull goes, "Gang's all here. It's an Invaders reunion." And then, you see he's short, and I went, "Oh, get it? Invaders reunion?" Yeah. He thinks it's talking about Namor, but it's all of them, I bet. And we got to the end revelation. Bucky is Red Skull. So before we move on, because that's sort of where we end the issue. Solid issue with some interesting moments.
Better than the last two.
Way better than the last two.
But this arc is still like several steps backwards from the first.
Yes. Arc. It, like you guys, as you probably all saw, there's a lot of those interesting world building things. That's a lot of what Andrew and I just pointed out, like Frank Castle and the microorganisms. But the overall plot, again, it's just they raided the Grand Skull base. I don't even why. Like, okay, you're shutting them down. That's good, but shouldn't you be finding like anti-maker technology or finding more Ultimates? Right? Like I thought that's what we were supposed to be doing here. The Maker's coming back, and you guys are just side missioning. Sure. Yeah. But let's get things going.
Before the pacing needs to pick up a bit.
Oh, very much so. Maybe this becomes one of those things where we'll get to the end of like this arc or the next arc and it'll be all perfect and we'll go, this is something to read in trades. But as it is, it's very much like, can I have anything, please? Like, I'm starving over here. To that end, before we move on from it, just because it is sort of probably the big topic of it, what do you think about that twist? What do you think about Bucky? Because this is actually, surprisingly, guys, I looked this up, maybe like the second time they've ever done this. And the first time they didn't even really give it like attention. It was just like, he was Red Skull, he died. So, yeah, what do you think about taking Mr. Bucky himself, Mr. What was it? Or Dum Dum Dugan took my thumbs or my ears. Like, what do you think about him becoming the Red Skull?
I'm okay with it.
Yeah,
it could, because they're doing a lot of different things with the characters in this universe, right? A lot of characters are already dead.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Right, and then like Namor, for example, right? They're doing some interesting things. I wish that they had not telegraphed this twist so hard. So if he has if the skull that he's wearing, the helmet he's wearing, has tech such that it can distort and alter his voice and his level of charisma, okay, then can we just like pretend that it also like makes it so people look at him and they think they're looking at a larger person than they actually are?
Right.
Because like something as simple as that, like even if he looked like he was disguised as Johann Schmidt, right? Something like that would have kept the mystery. You could even still keep the dialogue the same, right? And so the consistency there would have been leaving us scratching our heads a little bit more. It's like, well, wait, he kind of sounds like this, but like he looks.
Well, you could have also sold it too, to your point, where like have him project like a bigger image, like I am Johann, and then they get that ding in here from Cap's shield, and when it breaks, that's when we see like, oh, you're you're not Johann.
Yeah.
Then.
Leave that for the very end, right? Rather than like the second he shows up on screen, I'm sitting over here like, that's Bucky.
Like that's 100% going to be Bucky.
And you're like within the same panel or two, you're like, it's Bucky, right? Like we're just kind of like, we already know who this is. You already telegraphed it, right? From 8 miles away. And so that's my only complaint with it. Like, I don't have a complaint at all really with the twist itself. I just wish the execution of it was such that it left me not knowing until like the very last
at least
moment.
Here, right? Until at least this moment where he looks in his eyes, I would have been fine knowing here, because then 2 more pages. But when it's half the issue where I'm like, oh, okay, I know who you are. Mystery kind of solved.
Just kind of like, bummer. Like I finished the issue. I was like, okay, that issue was solid, but I wish that this seems to be a consistent thing with comics right now, where like they don't know how to keep a mystery.
Which is such
they just love giving it away right away.
Which we didn't even talk about this.
Come on.
Like we found this out last week, guys, after the show, because last week was an exceptional X-Men week, and we went, oh look, there's this new guy, like mysterious villain. That night they
already gave away who that is.
I pulled up the solicits for May, which came out that night, and I was still talking to Andrew, and I went, no fucking way. They straight up reveal in the solicits, in the cover and the text,
it's Mr. Sinister.
It's Mr. Sinister, which, like, okay, we've all probably could have guessed that, but are you kidding me? Like
you're gonna give it away that quickly? Like, gosh, man,
it's in May that we're supposed to find that out. We are in March. Are you like that's insane to me?
We are 2 months away from when that reveal is supposed to happen.
It's only 2 issues. You couldn't wait that? 2 issues. Like, absolutely absurd. Man. The one thing I will say, so you pretty much grabbed all of my same thoughts to a T. The only thing I will add is that I am at the very least way happier that this version of the Ultimate Red Skull is not like the one before, because again, I know you didn't read it, so here's a little glimpse into where the Ultimate Universe went after Peter Parker got shot and died. Out of nowhere, one day, the Ultimate base is attacked by a terrorist with a bloody, like, his face is literally just a skull. Like, he's stripped the skin off of his face, and that's what the red is. It's blood. Mm-hmm. We find out in a couple issues that it is... So, we learn way back in, like, the Ultimates 1 that when Cap went in the ice, Bucky and Peggy end up, like, finding comfort in each other, and they end up getting married and having a life. After meeting the Red Skull, we learned that while that happened, Peggy and Steve like were intimate the night before he left for the war, and she had a baby, but she gave the baby up for adoption, but it already had the super soldier serum in it. So he grew up resenting his dad, and so the like remaining Nazis were able to find him and track him down and turned him to it is so edgy stupid. Like it's so sad.
I'm glad I didn't read that.
Again, there's a lot of good stuff down in there, but there's also a lot of bad, especially when you get to that era of it all.
I'm really glad I skipped on that one.
Speaking of good things with some occasional bad things thrown in, I think that is a perfect leap to stay in the Marvel Universe. But now we're gonna go check in with our favorite band of mutants. Literally our favorite band of mutants, because this is the arguably best X book being published right now, outside of Phoenix. Yeah, I just don't really classify that as an X book. Like, technically it is, but it has nothing to do with any of them. It is literally just Jean's story. So, yes, guys, we are finally here. Uncanny X-Men. And by finally here, I mean we are kicking off the X-Manhunt crossover that is scheduled to go through here. I think there is a chart. Here it is. We have 8 issues of this, or let's see, God, what even is this layout? Up, down, part 1, part 2, part 3. So we have 7 total entries in this intra line crossover. So before we even get into it, I just want to say, like, at the top, like, I'm upset because I don't feel like Simone is being allowed to tell her story right now, because we're like, it's back-to-back events.
Again, yes, it's back-to-back, like being forced into also having to deal with this X-Men line-wide event stuff. Because the best parts of this book are the stuff that don't have to deal with the event.
Like
all the stuff, and actually not a lot happens in this book.
No.
But the stuff that happens outside of the event, like where it's Gale writing Remy and Marie and Kurt, you know, and this new group of kids, the Outliers, like, that's good stuff. Like, she's clearly at home working with that. But then, like, once you're pushing her into like dealing with the Grey Malkin stuff and dealing with like, oh, Xavier's gonna like he's breaking out and he's gonna go like try and save his Shi'ar daughter or part Shi'ar daughter. Like, I'm like, I don't care. Like, y'all have really destroyed Xavier's character for me. Like, I love Xavier, but like, they have spent like 3 decades just trying to destroy his character and make him like this actually like pseudo villain, super sinister at heart thing. And like you can have a character that like, they can make mistakes. They can make some bad decisions from a good place. Yeah. And you can deal with that. You can work with that. There's a story to be told there. You can do that. But instead, they just keep trying to double down on like, no, he's like super sinister.
Oh,
and it's like, come on, can you like stop, please?
You literally hit on what I was going to say, because we've talked about this multiple times over the show's existence so far. Like, we like Xavier. I personally do like the idea of him not being a villain, but kind of like what we said before, where he's a guy who just makes tough choices, and that's always going to lead you into being on, you know, the wrong side of an event or doing something. Like, it's going to happen. And I personally like the intimation of he's here for us, but he's also kind of villainous in the fact that he will kind of do whatever it takes to save mutants. And like, he'll take kids, make them into soldiers. Yes, it's for, you know, mutant safety, but that's still crazy. That is still a wild thing. But I love that, because you hit on it perfectly, to the point where I'm sure everybody saw, like, I was jumping. That is the problem, is that they tried that, or they started intimating that like early 2000s. And back then, that kind of worked, especially when they kept it going into the Schism stuff and put it on Wolverine and Logan. The problem was they then went, oh, let's take him back to Hero, and then they try it again. And then they take him back to Hero, and they try it again. So it goes from a guy who's like, it's the whiplash, and it just doesn't feel like this
doesn't feel organic anymore.
It does. That's exactly
it. Pick a lane.
Yeah, you can either be like bad Xavier or be good Xavier.
Like,
Stop with this.
You can have that back and forth once.
And
like, don't keep doing it ad nauseum.
like to our point, they literally just did it right before X-Manhunt, because if you guys remember the end of Krakoa, one of the big things and the reason the X-Men all split is Xavier in the Krakoa War signed like a deal with Orchis to say, will you like let mutants like exist if I like kill out humanity or whatever? And they were like, sure. So he like mind controls a space shuttle and has them fly into the Master Mold creation satellite, and that blows that all up, but it kills 7 astronauts. And that was what everybody was like, you just took human lives for your own end. Like, you're insane. Screw, like, you're not, we don't want to follow you. We literally got that stupid special where they reveal like, oh, they weren't really people. I made flesh homunculus.
Yeah, they were like homunculi or husks.
So there's no reason to be mad at me. And it's like, okay, so now you're a hero again? And then we get a weird villainous turn here. How do I approach this? I said it to you earlier, but this crossover is so kind of unexciting, so lame, because it really comes out of nowhere. We had all of this development we were going through with Xavier even before they had that twist. And even none of that matters to what is happening right now. This entire event is detached from it. It's so absolutely bizarre. So, first off, I missed David Marquez. I got really excited because I was like, oh yeah, David Marquez. And then we open the book and it's not David Marquez. It's Javier Garron, who he's fine or whatever, but he's the same artist we talked about last time. Just isn't working for us. He's not vibing with us or with this book.
His art on this issue wasn't as bad as the last one.
No,
but
it wasn't.
He's still not it. Like that first page is great.
Yeah.
It's once we get to all the humans. That's the problem.
Yep. But as Andrew was hinting, so we open this issue with the revelation that the Shi'ar are in some sort of like rebellion, civil war.
Yeah. Some sort of a coup,
that.
mutiny.
I also got, before we go on, quick note. One of the soldiers, when they board, says, they're like, all power to the revolution for our glorious purpose. And I'm like, stop. I'm sick of that line. Like, it never
Loki,
feels
stop.
Well, even when Loki said it, like in Venom, right? Like, it never feels organic. It really feels like every time you say glorious purpose, it's
strictly in the movie.
Yes,
the
exactly.
only time it worked. The only time that worked was in the first Avengers movie, and it only worked because Tom Hiddleston pulled that on.
One time, and now
he pulled it off.
Everything he says, like, get out of my face. But from there, we find that these rebels are boarding wherever the Empress of the Shi'ar currently is. She is being protected by Deathbird, who we all know, we've all seen. Some of you love her. She's a very 90s character.
But, very 90s character, skilled fighter.
So I'm going to do the thing we sort of did last time where I guess I was going to like jump between like storylines, but I guess this scene, links into the rest of it. But so from there, we pick back up in Greymalkin. They're repairing everything from the raid, from the attack where they rescued Calico and Jubilee and Beast. All of a sudden, they see that Xavier is alive and he's
going to like cardiac arrest.
Yeah. Like he's just like all of a sudden seizing and freaking out, and they don't know what's going on. And we as the viewers see that he is observing the situation in the Shi'ar. We don't know exactly why yet, but he's clearly looking. The warden of Greymalkin is like, shut it down, sedate him, stop. I don't know what's happening, but stop it. And they eventually do. And it turns out that the entire event was his daughter, who he had with Lilandra, is now, so her name's Xandra. She's now the Empress of the Shi'ar, and they are obviously coming to take her hostage, all that sort of fun stuff. He was going to protect her, and that's why he was like reaching out. That's why he was like trying to communicate with her. And that guys is like it.
That's the bulk of it. Like he gets like broken out by what's her name? Sarah. And you know, our main X team here, our favorite X team, got called by the warden to come to Greymalkin because there's a problem. Freaking having problems with Xavier, right? And she's like, I need you to like get him under control. And that's what Xavier is seeing, like this semi hallucination here of those team members, those X-Men team members, but from years and years and years ago, which is an interesting thing. But honestly, this is the least interesting thing about the book.
Exactly.
The most interesting thing about the book is like something that only takes place over a few pages, and it's Logan, Kurt, Marie, and Remy trying to train the Outliers, these new younger mutants, in a sort of danger room scenario. And the purpose of that is to see if they're actually ready to freaking go. And they come to the determination, no, they're actually not, because throughout this, and this is actually was something that I really found interesting, because we've had this like conflict between Rogue and Scott of their different approaches to things over the course of the last several issues. And Rogue comes to this moment where she's like they're all treating like this danger room stuff like it's just a game. These are just kids. They're going to get freaking killed if they don't like get their acts together and realize that, no, this is serious. This is real. And so what she did, like, she even has like, you know, she notes and has commentary that like even Logan seems like he's just playing. That's what I was
about to bring up. Is that they didn't even they didn't go into this training session like you said it, but it's not like accurate, or how do I say? You're a little off base, because when they started this training session, it wasn't like we're preparing you for war. It was like she's observing like a little more of a game. Like this is an exercise, right? Like this is a go capture the flag. And that's when Rogue realizes like, no, like this isn't what we do. Like this is, we go in, and she even says it. So what happens is
we put our lives on the line.
Well, she even says like what does she say? So what she does is the kids are all training, and she decides to throw them for a loop by having Remy throw a completely fully charged kinetic card into the arena, blows away.
She says, take one of them down hard.
Hard. Yeah. Doesn't matter which, take one down hard. So he just throws it, takes down Jitter. Everybody sort of freaks out and goes like, what? Why did you do that? Why did you, like, what were you thinking? And Rogue goes, I was thinking of Sentinels and Master Mold and Mr. Sinister and Omega Red and Sabretooth and Sarah. And I was just like, oh,
like, oh, damn.
Yeah.
Damn, Marie.
Like, you are becoming a leader now, and this is the hard part about being a leader, right?
That's the difficult part about being a leader. Do you want to go soft on your people, or do you want to make sure your people survive?
And then to like what you were saying, where she starts feeling a little Scotty, she does that, and Jubilee calls her out. She's like, we're done for the day. We're going in. Don't forget your ruby quartz visor. And she's like, oh, like, okay, fair. But I'm also starting to understand Cyclops a little more. And
that was an interesting point there, where it's like Rogue was like, had this moment of realization, like, yeah, the mantle of leadership is not easy. And sometimes you have to make hard decisions. Sometimes you're going to make the wrong ones, but like sometimes you got to make hard decisions that are born from a place of wanting to make sure your people make it out alive and are prepared. And if they're not prepared, then they shouldn't be out in the field. That's the conversation that she has right here with Remy, where Remy reassures her, no, like, I think you did the right thing, because what you did right now was that you proved that one was not ready. Right?
Yeah, and he's like, you might have just
saved her life.
Yeah.
Right. So like that was a really great character moment between the two of them. And honestly, like this scene, even though it only takes place over a few pages, it's the best part of the book.
It is the best part of the book. Like, we are not kidding when we say that.
Because nothing else really happens.
I even laughed at this like line where she's like, I swear the horse is even judging me, because Ember is like standing there.
Ember's kind of like side-eyeing her.
Yeah, as a horse. Yeah. And I'm just like, fun. This was all fun. This is what we come to Uncanny for. Yeah, right? Yeah. But then this was actually very like shocking to me.
This was kind of horrific.
Yeah, so we cut to the scene of it's a guard from Greymalk, and he's being like psychically assaulted either by Xavier or probably what's his name? The
other dude.
The dude who's got like he's got like the walker or whatever. He's dying. Yeah. And so he's freaking out, and his wife is like, are you okay? Like, I'm giving you space. Like, what's going on? And she's even like, I called your supervisor. Like, you don't have to go into work. Like, what's going on? Are you going to come down for dinner? And he's like, okay, it's going to be okay. He's still freaking out. Picks up his like rifle, walks downstairs, sees his entire family as Sentinels, and presumably unloads, because we don't see what comes after that. We don't
see it, but yeah, and I'm glad we don't. But
no,
like,
we can infer.
Yes, we can infer, and we're like, oh, whoa, what the hell, right? And then it just brings us back to what we talked about earlier, where Xavier breaks out. The team had gone to Grey Malkin at the behest of the Warden to deal with the Xavier problem, and it's the team all like realizing very quickly, or rather remembering very quickly, Xavier's one of the most powerful mutants ever, and so like you're not just gonna like stop him that easily.
Well, like there's this moment where
he takes them all down and
he freezes Kurt mid jump, like that was pretty cool.
Oh, that was kind of horrific, honestly. Like I saw that, I was like, I
was like, how does it work? Like does it finish, or does it just chop there? Like how does it?
Right.
Oh man. Presumably he finishes it because he is fine in one piece afterwards.
In my mind, like the mind that, Kurt's my favorite X-Men, doesn't want him to die. I'm like, he basically just put him on pause.
Yeah. Oh yeah. See, this is how he leaves them. Like they're all thrashed. He's ready to go. And that is where we end the issue. And again, guys, this entire plot line comes out of nowhere. That we have not talked about the Shi'ar for this entire From the Ashes relaunch. Barely talked about them in Krakoa.
They're not even referenced in Phoenix.
No, which is like in space. She's going cosmic. We didn't even reference it when Corsair showed up. Like in X-Men last week, which is he hangs out with them all the time. So it is really just lame. So A, it definitely feels like it comes out of left field, and then B, to the point we were talking about earlier, this definitely feels like another one of those moments where Xavier framed as bad, but we're giving him an out to not be a villain. Because what we learn is he has like a brain tumor. And that's why he's seeing his old students like this. This is why he's so emotional over his daughter.
And the Warden tells us that it's fatal.
And they even tell us, like, Rogue says, like, it's a mutant, technically. So it's like fighting for control over your telepathy, which is, I'm presuming, the thing that reached out to the guard and got him to do that. So that, to me, is like, oh, they're just going to go Deus Ex Machina in the last one and go, oh, we got the tumor.
Yeah.
Welcome back, Charles. And it's like
kind of what I'm worried for. At the same time, I want like good guy Charles back, to be honest. I really do. I've never been a fan of villain Charles or framed as villain Charles. I like the gray area conversation of like he's made some maybe questionable decisions to try and benefit both mutant and humankind.
They don't always work out,
and they don't always work. Like that's, you can have that conversation. I think there's room to play in with there, but like at a certain point, you got to pick a lane. And
yes.
I think Xavier works best when he's the good guy. So
I agree with that.
I don't
know why I said it like that. I have nothing to add. I agree with that.
I'd say I'm interested to see where they go with this, but I'm really like the idea of the event. I'm really not interested. Like I'd rather them have like waited a whole year to get to this event and like just give me more of what Gale was doing with the Uncanny team.
I know.
Let her cook, because she was cooking. That's not what we're getting. We're getting shoehorned line-wide events.
At least it looks like this is the only one. But still, like, I want, like you're saying, I want back to the Gale story. I want to see what she's writing or like telling, not this. Because, we are running up on our time here. I'm just going to go through this really, really, really super fast. But this was not the only issue of the Xavier Manhunt to come out this week. 2 other ones did. But to your point, they don't really do anything. We have an NYX story that really, focuses on the fallout. And then boom, Xavier's here. He asks them to invade the treehouse with them, the old treehouse Krakoa base, and retrieve the seed of Krakoa. And it turns out, oh no, that was all a ploy for him to get his super telepathic helmet from Krakoa. And now he has it. Now he's going to go try and, next part of his mission to save his daughter. That's all that happens here. And then we get to the book that we are unfortunately behind, even though it is good. In Storm, there's stuff going on, but out of nowhere, like Xavier comes to her for like advice or for help, and she decides, I'm going to fight on his side. So then like the X-Men, like Scott's team, show up and they fight, and like that's all it is. It's a pretty brutal fight, but that's it. It's weird because it's like, why is Storm fighting against him? Why is she so ready to believe Xavier when everybody else, like, it just doesn't feel, it feels so weird. It feels so off.
It feels like a shoehorned event that
exactly
they rushed into, and instead of like letting the individual writers breathe and tell their own arcs, instead we're rushing into line-wide events, which is, I've talked about this before, it is a major issue within modern day mainstream comics. They just want to rush from one line-wide event to the next instead of just let the stories happen organically.
They
really
can't let us.
It's unfortunate.
Yeah.
And it hamstrings writers because instead of being able to tell the stories that they're interested in telling, they're being forced into all working semi-cohesively and really not working semi-cohesively. What it is, they're all being funneled into the same thing. And I don't know, that's less interesting to me.
There's no sense of like back in the day when they would write, 52. I know I bring it up all the time, but that was 5 writers all in a room talking and being like, what do we do here? Okay, then what do we do here? Okay, that not just going, this is the plot, make it work. And then that's why we get all these weird just jumbles around. I will point out that in this issue, there was this pretty brutal moment where that I liked, where Storm, I guess she's got like goddess, like actual goddess within her powers now. And so she's fighting Scott doing like a DBZ thing, and his visor like shatters. He's like letting go and unleashes against her, and her goddess goes like, "Nuh-uh, my turn now," and just like blasts him back and like pushes his beams back and like freezes him, like freezes into his face with like the I-beam thing. Yeah.
That's brutal.
He lives, and what's her name? The Tempest is like melts him out. But I was like, okay, pretty brutal. Cool little scene, even if the rest of the book was not really worth it. And then there's this shot of Aurora headbutting Juggernaut, which I don't even know, man. I don't know how I feel about that yet.
I don't know if I'll buy that one.
Yeah, exactly. Like
that one's that's a bit of a hard sell. Like
even with your immortal god powers, like
I haven't been reading the book, so like I can't speak to where she's at in terms of like these goddess powers that she has. Like Aurora was already an extremely powerful mutant. So it's not hard for me to believe that she's able to take down a lot of people.
Yeah.
But, like you got like a headbutting Juggernaut. Like, all right, you want to sell me on like some energy and stuff like that. Okay, fine. Like you can sell me on that.
You turn the ground at his feet into mud or something, and there you go.
Yeah,
it's crap.
But headbutting, I don't know.
Brute force against the Juggernaut. You're gonna have to really pull something out of your ass to make us believe that one.
Yeah. Right now, the X line went from like super promising to like mostly disappointing with some highlights.
For like no reason. You could have just let everybody hang out and write their books, and we would have been fine. Even if mid-K would have been more mid than usual. But instead you went, we gotta get everybody on board, and I don't even care anymore.
Unfortunately, that's where we're at.
Yeah, and the only other thing I wanted to point out before we head out of here, I brought this up in the first issue of Storm, and it still bugs me. Remember, this like air base of hers is supposed to be like a sanctuary that brings hope to people when it's in the sky. Dude, look at like, if I see 5 circular lights hovering in the sky, that I don't care if I know that that's Storm. Like that feels foreboding.
I don't get comfort from that.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like I'm about to get invaded. So that still bugs me to this day, and I just wanted to point that out. But with that, guys, we have successfully reached the end of our book list for this week. I know that it was a shorter week, but hopefully we can keep this sort of momentum and tightness going forward into our future weeks, because as much as we love talking comic books for 3.5 hours, we have things to do. We have lots going on. So with that, guys, I think let's head out of here. And as we head out of here, of course, we will let you know what we've all got going on, and starting with Andrew. Andrew, what have we got to promote to the people today? As if I don't know.
Let's see. Saturday night, stream over on Mary Mayhem's channel. We've got, hypothetically speaking, not 100% certain what we're sorting yet. We've got some things bouncing around in our heads, but it'll be a great time as always. Undecided whether or not I'm going to do my Saturday afternoon stream. That's going to be dependent entirely on my voice, because if I have to, I will save my voice for Mary's stream, and I'll just play Monster Hunter on my own during the day.
That's really what he wants to do, guys. It's like the 4th time he said that exact scenario. He wants to do that.
I'll be honest, that might be the preferred outcome there. But then, community nights over on Sunday night on my channel. You guys know the deal. Rippaverse, we've got Ice on 3 going on right now. Rippazine 3 going on right now. Both are doing fantastic. Please check those out. Ice on 3 is about to hit 400 grand. Rippazine 3 is about to hit 3,500 copies sold. It's already over 80 grand, which for a $7 magazine is fantastic. So guys, thank you so much for all the support you're showing to us over there. We appreciate the heck out of you. Blood Ruth copies are out in the wild. All the pre-orders have been sent. So please tag us in your reviews on that, whether it's on YouTube.
That's what's behind me. I have it.
Yes, in the Rippaverse Trinity. You got that hardcover version right there, covered by Kane and White, and I believe it was Marcos Martins the colored. I might be misremembering. But yeah, guys, thank you so much for your support. As always, check out Mary's stream on Saturday. I will be there. And yeah, thanks for hanging out with us and chatting comics with intellectual honesty.
But number one place for that here on the internet. We know it's rare and few and far between, but we love this medium, so we want to do right by it, and we want to do right by you guys. Tehillim and Subhuman, I know that I'm so far behind on like the Ghost Machine stuff. I have them. They're staring me in the face, but I have to find a moment to just sit my ass down and actually read them. I'm super excited, but I will get to it. I promise. I will, guys. For you. Oh, hey, look at that. Ace Condor coming in at the very end. What is going on, our friend? Unfortunately, we are heading out for the night. For me, guys, as always, boundingintocomics.com for your daily news updates. Check out my stream tomorrow over on Kabuto Studios, Good Mav Ugly, where we just hang out and chat about whatever comes our way. And yeah, go check out all of Andrew's stuff. Catch me in Andrew's chat, annoying the heck out of him. And I think that's all we've got for tonight. So at least on my end, take it easy.
Never before have we had greater face a complex, rapidly changing world. Think of it a moment.
It is a world in which supersonic speeds are commonplace. It is a world that has seen the coming of the atomic bomb. It has seen the rise of the total state, the dictator, and the mass man. It is a world of new sensations, new excitements, new distractions.
So much to be learned by so many in so little time.
And I suppose you're here with no agenda, as per usual?
On the contrary, I'm here for comics.
How's your comic book collection, Brody?
Oh, it's going good, but I've been...